Good morning, everybody. We're here. Today is Thursday, May 30th, 2024, and we're here for a work session. And what we're going to do is we open a work session now. We're going to make a motion to close it. We're going into executive session for an item that's going to take approximately an hour and a half, and we'll be back live again with the open session at around 10:30 this morning. So if I could have a motion to close work session and close the open session and go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, we are closed and we will be back approximately at 10:30 into open session. Thank you all.
Stay tuned.
Okay, welcome everybody. Today is May 30th, 2024, Thursday, and we are back for the open session of our work session agenda. And we are going to start out today, actually we're going to start out with the pledge because we failed to do that earlier. So at this point in time, if we would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First up today will be matters surrounding the possible sale of real property. Nope, sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Open session will be matters surrounding possible indoor sports facility at Veterans Memorial Park, and that's with Bob KERN.
You guys want to come up?
Sure.
Peter? Yeah. Just
Have a seat right at the table.
one here, one there.
Sorry. Thank you.
Just want to say who you are. and-
Yeah, absolutely. Morning. My name is Peter Ballard.
My name's Justin Potenza.
Nice to meet you, gentlemen.
Pleasure.
We do have printouts of this, so you
Excellent.
can, explain what you want to do, and Justin will put stuff up on the screen when you're ready.
Yeah, sure. It's been a couple of years now. I've been working with Bob. Some of the
And
other.
you're working with Ken, originally with Troy from the
Right.
beginning, right?
Well, you're from.
You haven't worked with me? What?
No, with Troy.
Okay.
They were working, you were aware of this project way back, right?
Yeah, I think the last we spoke was about a year ago. You guys were gonna, the recreation asked you to do a qualified and eligible buyer hearing.
No, we didn't, because they're gonna donate, so that's not gonna be necessary, but that
It's
was.
absolutely necessary. It's
they
CEA land
waited-
is required by law,
they-
so you have to do it.
So at any rate, I'll let you guys go ahead.
Okay.
So as I was indicating, it's been a couple of years. We've been progressing through that time period to talk about creating a space, a sports facility. Veterans Memorial Park is phenomenal, as we all know, currently with the baseball and the pickleball, the walking areas, the dog walks now. They have obviously the paintball in existence. So great area, has the fields and the space for outdoor soccer and lacrosse, which really is something that I've been talking to Bob, and then creating potentially an indoor facility, I think, which we all can attest to on Long Island is in high demand, especially from like the November to April seasons. So where we're situated in Riverhead, being centralized with the North Fork and the South Fork, there are no indoor facilities besides the YMCA in Southampton. So you have a massive demand for soccer and lacrosse in particular. That stretches all the way to Queens. That's where we're seeing a lot of traveling done as the higher age and the better teams, I should say, from the travel exists. So to create a spot here at the Fork would answer a lot of the demand, create a phenomenal facility that already is in existence, just take it to the next level. And what we're looking at is a dome. It's a bubble. It's inflated by air. It has an AV system. So it's got air chambers. So what it does is the chambers are perpetuated by the AV system that hold it up, inflate it. It'll be heated or cooled by that depending on the time of the year. So that also, does two things. Obviously, it inflates it, and then it keeps the temperature regulated, which is great on both aspects.
I could see 4 politicians standing out here, just blowing into a tube and keeping it inflated.
I mean,
with all the hot air.
I've got
generally
tons of
put
hot
out,
air
so-
coming. Yeah, exactly. We could use that from Washington, no question. Right now, all things considered.
Yes.
I think a lot more than 4, though. But yeah. So in that sense, the company that the dome in particular I've been working for is Asadi. They started in the 1950s as a government, building for aerospace, kind of like, covering up a lot of our facilities throughout the country. Then they've gone residential, I think like in the late 70s, early 80s. The CEO, in fact, wanted to create a dome for his own tennis court, and that's kind of where it, rolled off. So now there's domes throughout the country that they use for sports complexes on the professional level, for football in particular, and then all the way through colleges. And then just from the recreation from other, towns that we've seen throughout the country. This one in particular is Capelli Sports Center that we're looking at up here on the upper left, that you guys have. I apologize, just the upper left.
Is this a
Right, I
facility
apologize.
that you own?
No, it's not that I own. It's Asadi built the dome, so I'm using it as an example of what we look to, utilize here. It's a 100,000 square foot facility, so inside you have a full-size soccer field. From this aerial that you guys are looking at, you can see the dome itself. You can see the larger building. That's the entrance building that they have for concessions, for any sporting goods that they have. They have, I think, also kind of like a party, guest room for events and things of that nature. Restrooms are in there. You can enter through that. There's also emergency exits throughout, but that's the main entrance that we would look to, create similar to this depiction. The two smaller, darker objects you're seeing, that's the generator and HVACs in the backside that would run and pump the air through the system. If we go to the next slide, I think it kind of brings us inside. Thank you. So that shows the full-size regulation soccer field. Then within that soccer field, you can create quadrants. So what they've done is they've taken it down to 4 fields within. So you can play, soccer, lacrosse. They have field hockey. Sometimes they're doing football, depending on the seasons. But with a regulation-sized soccer field, it enables the ability to break it down to 4 to actually 8 quadrants, depending on how we want to look and utilize it from a usage perspective. Behind that, they have 2 full-size basketball courts. Mm-hmm. The basketball courts are aligned to be utilized for basketball, pickleball, tennis, volleyball, and futsal. So with that being said, pickleball is a massive sport taking over, right? So you can get 4 pickleball courts on that right now, which is unique. Volleyball, I've been kind of like feeling that out, and that's obviously a lot larger than I realized with regards to the high school level, and that's a demand and a need that I've seen from some of the research. And then, obviously, you have the tennis or basketball, and basketball, speaks to itself. Also, there are 5 lanes on the backside for batting cages. So that would be the full, complex in itself indoor, or then outside off the backside of the field. Part of what the conversation I'm having with Bob at Parks and Rec would be to create 1, potentially 2, but we can definitely get 1, depending on the size, outdoor soccer field that we would create and donate to Riverhead Park and Rec, along with the parking lots that would be needed for this. We'd also be building, utilizing not only for the dome, but also for the rest of the park and the usage that, because of all the activity that this is creating and everything that currently exists right now. That I know the parking is, I've been out there, it's phenomenal with the weekends, with the biking and everything in the paths, but it's become so crazy when you have, baseball fields and lacrosse being utilized. Mm-hmm. So, the parking is a necessity to create more, regardless. But again, this was like an overall depiction of a complex in New Jersey called Capelli Sports Center that has the indoor dome and then outdoor soccer fields. So we're looking at, really pretty much mimicking this, with minor tweaks here and there, probably with the indoor building, like the entrance building would be like the minor tweak, but looking at that facility on a whole, and then creating that soccer field, as I mentioned, outdoor maybe too.
Well, I'm a big lacrosse fan.
Okay, great.
And Obviously, Notre Dame just won the
Yeah.
national championship
Amazing weekend.
with several kids from Long Island on their team. Adelphi just won Division II
Correct. Yep.
men's championship. Again, a lot of Long Island kids on the team. Long Island is a hotbed for lacrosse. There is a huge need for lacrosse from November to March,
Yeah.
April, where there's just no place indoors to play. That alone will keep you busy, I'm sure, because tournaments can run all winter long. If you're a lacrosse parent, you know you're traveling all over the East Coast for tournaments on travel teams and everything else. You could host tournaments here. There's a whole, just for lacrosse alone. Now you throw in soccer, which soccer is a growing sport. It's the #1 sport in the world.
Yep.
This ideally would be a great fit for the town of Riverhead, and it would be a great fit for the whole mecca of East End, Long Island, for sure.
I don't think you nailed it on the head any better than that. To be perfectly candid, we're from Ward Melville area. So
Okay.
I grew up in Garden City initially until I was 11 years old. But so these are hotbeds, as you've mentioned, for just lacrosse.
Right.
Looking at the lacrosse, it's 30,000 kids currently playing on Long Island. Soccer, and again, I played soccer growing up. I'm not as piped in as I am with lacrosse, but there's 70,000 kids playing soccer right now on Long Island from K to 12.
Yeah.
So the numbers are massive. As you've alluded to, though, the need is astronomical.
It is.
Right? Where we're located, though, what you're talking about, the men's lacrosse, West Hampton girls lacrosse
Yes.
is
Yes.
a powerhouse. They're putting
Yes.
girls at Northeastern,
Yep.
North Carolina. It's a powerhouse. They have nowhere to go. We're looking at it's unreal the touch that we can have in this location on the Fork. So I agree with
I
you.
just got to throw a little plug in.
Sure.
Our own community service director's daughter plays at Maryland.
Tremendous.
Played at Riverhead, and Riverhead's putting kids all over the place.
Great weekend for
just
Maryland too. Yeah, absolutely. Great. So no. It's exciting on all fronts. And I think it's one of the things that we have kids that are playing in the lacrosse right now. We're seeing what goes on. I'm seeing friends and family traveling to Queens, what they need to get to places. So yeah, we've done some of the research. We know kind of the numbers, and what we're looking to create for the town of Riverhead, is not only these fields indoor and outdoor, but I'm talking to Bob, and as I'm talking to you guys with regards to the pickleball, you see things like, let's create something for the town of Riverhead where the residents get a membership or a card where they have entrance, they have access at a discounted level, and we can look to work the facility, whether it's pickleball or it's, yoga or whatever it is on the off hours. Because as we're talking, we know the kids are in school from 9 to 3, right? So the demand is 3 to 10, 3 to 9 for those off hours besides the weekends. What goes on during the day? And that's where I want to work with the town and try to create events or things for town residents.
Like a community center.
Yeah.
Right. Have you run this by the Rec Advisory Committee?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Norm, yeah, I've had meetings
Yeah,
over the last
we
2
had
years with
them,
everybody.
and,
numerous times.
Frank, it's gone by Frank Mancini for water. He's fine. It's gone to engineering. They're fine with electric needs, and yeah.
Fire marshal, we've dealt with.
And the fire
cleared
marshal as
for-
well.
that was a concern about
They've all
water.
looked at this, the fire marshal. In fact, the fire marshal knows somebody, I think at this facility,
Yes.
Capelli, and he has a counterpart down there who he called, and he already talked about what his requirement would be for this structure, right? And getting around. So yeah, in order to get to this stage, we've spoken to everybody to make sure everything was in order to move forward.
So what is the requirements from the fire marshal? What are you putting in?
Well, that
Right now, what the fire marshal is looking at in first glance, he wants a dirt road all the way around this facility. That's what he needs. That's what he's talking about, because he's spoken with his counterpart down in Capelli, and that's where we are right
For
now.
fire
What about fire hydrants and so forth?
He has not mentioned fire hydrants at all. And
Because
again,
he has-
we're at the beginning stage, right?
He's expressed to me more recently that he's requiring for any development up there to put fire hydrants in the facility off of Route
You're
25.
putting a fire hydrant at the hockey?
Yes, that's what he's demanding, that they're.
Okay,
going
no,
to
that's,
do. So-
that's good, because
so
there's
that's-
water on, what's that, 25?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, we have to
it is
take
what
it
it is,
anyway.
I mean, that's
That's all.
great.
Are you putting in sewer?
again, that was a conversation that we haven't gotten to, the
There's
bathroom
5
facility.
locations where they can have, the site is approved for 5 bathrooms.
Correct.
So that right now, there's 1 at hockey. This can be 2, and I'm not sure, and the baseball, if we move that trailer down there, whether they're gonna do a cesspool, that's 3, which leaves 2 open. That's what it leaves down
So
there.
you're gonna build bathrooms up there?
Correct.
Okay.
It's part of the building.
Yes, yeah, correct. And I was looking at self-containing units like Fuji systems, depending on what is, but the sewage was not tied into any main or any conversation of that nature, no.
And you're bringing in electric?
Well, the electric's there, but yeah, I'd be bringing it.
The
Yeah,
electric currently is at capacity, so what's in there is currently at capacity.
Yeah, Ken said they would bring in a separate line and the electric's available.
Good.
So you'd have to bring it in off of Route 25. Did you participate in the study that's ongoing right now?
No,
Yes, you did. You don't know you did, but
Okay.
you
I
did.
did not
I'll
know.
tell you how,
He
because,
doesn't know he participated. in
well,
the
he
study.
doesn't, well, what happened was, in order for me to vote on the study, right, I submitted this plan to Evan, okay, and through Dawn, so they're aware of this.
okay, appreciate that. Yeah, I'm sorry that I wasn't aware.
Sorry I didn't tell you.
Now, talk about the finances. So you're going to purchase this bubble, you're going to install it at the parking lot, the electric, everything, and then when you're done, you're donating it to the town of Riverhead?
The idea right now, which again is contractually not been finalized, is to build the facility, as you've indicated, and then there is a timeline to eventually donate it to the town, correct?
So are you planning on owning in the beginning? You're looking, like, tell me what is your plan on it? So that's what
You
I'm
haven't
not
done the, you
understanding.
haven't done the legal stuff yet.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into that.
So in order for you to build anything on it and to maintain ownership, first you have to go to the alienation of parkland, right? So you gotta get approval from the state of New York in order to build on parkland. So you need to get approval through that. And if you plan on at least owning it in any partial beginning, then you need to go through a qualified and eligible hearing. And then you have to apply to the CDA to show your finances that you have the ability to build this in its entirety and all the infrastructure that goes with it. But then the goal is like, are you looking to purchase, I mean, because I don't know that you can purchase any parkland we can't sell. So I think you just have to do it through a managerial program, so you'll have to like build a structure, donate it to the town. That's what we did with the ice rink, donate the entire facility. So like we own that ice rink, that's our facility, and then we set a separate managerial contract with Peconic, and they manage it and run the facility. Is that what you're looking to duplicate? Or do you feel that you need to own this project? So I think it's a very different approach here.
Yeah, no, those are definitely different approaches. I think it's a matter of, contractually seeing, everything on paper. It's hard for me to sit here and say ideally what I'm looking to do. I'm willing to work with everyone, which is what I've been doing for 2 years. I've obviously been asked and answered everything that you guys have wanted. So in order to give you that answer, I'd like to see a formalized contract to understand where, it best suits Town of Riverhead and it best suits us. I can't sit here and depict this is definitively what I want to do when I don't really understand the full layout yet contractually of the whole obligation.
Built any of these projects anyplace else, or what is your, what's your experience?
I am a builder. I'm a home builder, so I've been building residential for 14 years now. I have a construction background, predominantly in residential. Something like this, I've worked with, 2 commercial companies, and large electrical companies and things of that nature, but nothing, of this size yet. But again, Asadi, the company does everything. So my job is to build the foundation, which is not a problem considering my background. And then Asadi does everything from top to bottom after that is done. So they're the ones that have, the engineering component, and they've built, I think it's 178 of these now throughout the country. So
It's a new dome, a reconditioned one?
it's a new dome, brand new dome, 25-year life.
What's an approximate build out on something like this, money-wise?
If you're looking at the whole soup to nuts, $6 million.
And that includes, and you're going to,
That's the building,
Yep, and the
like
parking.
the concession building, let's call it, the dome, the parking lots, the fields.
Locker rooms involved anywhere here?
In there, yes, correct. In the bathroom, which would be locker rooms, correct. But again, the nice thing about Asadi is we can, I can stagger, meaning I could build like the soccer component of it and then do the basketball the next year and the baseball, the actual batting cages, and then the entrance building, we could just have an entrance, like a normal one coming off the parking lot in the beginning, and then create the building later on too. Depends on how we want to look at it, and see what kind of like our footprint would be.
In terms of that financial, that $6 million, that's, you have upfront?
Yeah.
Pay for that?
I have,
Okay, the reason why there's no reclamation from a bank loan or anything like
No,
that,
there's
because
no
it's gonna be on parkland, so you have to have the full amount put down and.
Correct.
To do that.
correct.
Ultimate plan at the end of the vision? Fields outside the dome?
Right, I mean, you have the space currently full, this was, their facility, Capelli's, right? They have the indoor and then 5 fields. We have the ability to put one regulation soccer field right now, just dimensionally. If we were to fill in some of like the area that gets before the woods, we could get 2 in. Right now, there's a lot of undulations in that field, so we could, right now, there's no question we get 1. I think we can eventually get 2. And then, again, like Capelli, they have them all over the place. Like your baseball, would be, a distance, but if we decided to create soccer fields or outdoor fields elsewhere, you have the land, and that's the beauty of it. So for soccer tournaments or lacrosse tournaments, that's the real game changer for areas, right? As you were alluding to earlier, you need a minimum of 6 fields. You just, in order to do it right. So, that would be a number, be great to grow to or get to. The land's there. It's just a matter of how we work with Park and Rec to access that, which I think is attainable. It's just, timelines and understanding kind of like where everyone is, because Park and Rec, who we've met with numerous times, they have a beautiful idea of the land and outline of what it was, but I think that survey or that kind of creation was in the early 2000s. So things need to be kind of updated, and that was what we were working on getting done as a group.
Peter, I know I talked to you about, once you go through the contractual part of this, if you ordered this today, it would be a year, right, to get it installed?
Yeah, I would say 14 months to be honest. It's 8 to 9 months for the generators. That's the biggest holdup right now. That is the holdup, and then the installation is 2 to 3 months when everything's done. So that, like, they'll have the fabric, they'll have the dome, they'll have the mesh membrane, they'll have everything there. It's the generators. So say you're 9 months in the generators, comfortably you're talking 3 months, that's a year. I say 14 just due to the fact of, then the parking lots, working with the turf interior, that's probably a safe number. So it's 12 to 14. It's right in that range.
Generators are electric,
Yeah.
so power outage.
Backup generators.
Backup
there's
generators
that's
keep
what
the dome inflated.
That's
and-
correct. So it'll keep it inflated. From what I'm told on that size, it's an hour and a half till it starts to get down to a dangerous level. So evacuation and things from a safety perspective are there, but you have the backup generators, correct?
Can I ask you a question? You
Sure.
said a Saudi builder? What's that? It's Capella makes the dome.
yeah.
Who's the builder?
Sorry for the clarification. Asadi, ASATI, that is the dome company. They are the ones who actually make the dome. They're the ones who will be doing the installation, everything from top to bottom. Capelli was a location in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
So that's just a complex that I was referencing
Gotcha.
for visuals and, a better understanding of what we're looking at.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
Have you inquired anything in New York State with the alienation of parkland? Is that something that you guys are gonna cover, the legal recourse and nothing like to pursue that with New York State?
We haven't gone the route of the alienation of parkland. Maybe, Bob, you can attest to this better than me. It's just due to the fact that we were looking at the
Well, we were
the
also
swap,
looking
right?
at the potential, and we haven't gone down, real deep with Eric. He wanted to do the work session first. But there's a swath of land up here, that's parkland, and
Yeah,
also,
Gary, bring it
if
up.
you can put the
If you can
first
put it
slide
on,
on,
yeah.
Justin?
First and last, I think.
Or we're gonna build right above the hockey dome on the CDA land.
The bottom corner, that's,
See that bottom that's sort of hatched out there?
it's
That's
grabbed,
it, that's parkland. And it's that pizza, it's a pie shape there. is, you know, one
That's
of the
town land, zone recreational. It's not, that's not parkland. Parkland stops at the ice rink.
That's
So everything-
CDA, then that's CDA land there, right?
Correct.
So we were looking to,
Correct.
you know, one of the potential things we looked at was taking that square footage and swapping it with the parkland, right? And making that CDA land, that was one thing, or just go through the alienation of parks. The other thing is, I have a call into Evan to see, you know, from Evan's expertise, because public-private partnerships are being done all over Nassau County and other places, because obviously towns can't afford to do this, right? So I'm looking for some guidance from Evan as well, who does this for a living with public-private partnerships.
Evan is
So
from
again,
where's
Evan,
Evan from?
he's our guide, the consultant on the entire build-out of, you know, adding, you know, additional acres to Veterans Park. He's our consultant. And that's, you know, but again, the request was to come to a work session because the scope has changed, and that's where we are now, and then we'll address all the legal issues and see where we go from there.
Gives a great opportunity in the winter for the tournaments, fills our hotels that
Yeah.
might be more vacant in the
Absolutely.
winter time as
Absolutely.
opposed to the summer.
And it's a perfect midway between Boston and New England.
So how many lacrosse fields is inside this at one time? Is it like 2 fields, like the size of it, like?
With that size,
It's
it
a
would
tournament.
be one full-size lacrosse field, but tournaments currently run 7v7 and 9v9. So on that, you can get 2 fields on 9v9, and you can get 3 to 4 on a 7v7.
Because that's the whole key to success is the tournament side of things, I think.
So they can fit 3 to 4 games at a time?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct, absolutely. And I agree with you. The tournaments are crucial. I think, you know, as I was indicating earlier, the outdoor is something that, if it's created at Veterans, would be phenomenal. I mean, you have such a great space there, and, you know, given the land, you know, as we're looking at here, there's a lot of land that right now is untouched. So, you know, in working together, I think there's a lot of great things that can be done the next, you know, 3, 4, 5 years with opening up some of that for, you know, for soccer fields, lacrosse fields, any outdoor that we're talking about. But from a tournament perspective, the biggest thing you need is parking, right? That's where the issues lie in from a safety perspective. And this park right now is choked by parking. So that's always one thing I've been trying to talk to Bob about, been trying to work with, you know, that is my creation in the sense of, I'd never really, you know, minded where the location of this was, as you were talking about the alienation. I was happy from day one to be anywhere. It was just the parking. I've always said, from a safety perspective, my concerns were parking. So as long as we can address the parking, understand we're looking at November to April, it's dark, right? So the lighting's crucial, safety's crucial with weather, and parking is everything. And that's what I think we've highlighted here with that location. Now, if it has to move due to alienation or working with the town, that's okay, but parking is what we really need to address.
I think it's a great location in terms of like, it's right now, it's unutilized
Yes,
parkland.
correct.
And I think that the other concern, the reason that, you know, the ice rink was built further south was that it was a necessity of a time frame.
I see.
The alienation of parkland is a lengthy process, but it can be done.
Okay.
So the question is that if you began to pursue that now, and you begin to get the state, sooner you get the state on board to consider the project and then to give approval of the
Yeah.
project, then you'll be ready. As opposed to you raising the funds, putting it, now you're ready to go, and then you apply for alienation park. I mean, it could take a year for alienation of parkland to get approval. I mean, looks like you might be waiting a year for the dome to be manufactured. So I think if you coincide and you do everything together, you know, in terms of getting your approval and then ordering the dome or whatever, you know, I don't know whether, you know, but it can be done, but it's a process.
I appreciate
So
that,
I'm just
yeah.
asking you, have you then begun that process in any way, or any inquiries to the state? We looked into, you know, the prior project of the ice rink, and we applied for the state, and quite honestly, their response was very vague initially. And they said that they would need a significant amount of time to consider the project was whether they would allow, a private entity to work even in a managerial aspect on parkland. If it was given to the town and it was town run, town operated, that's different. That's what town parks are for.
Right.
But in terms of having an outside entity come in, that's when the alienation park again. We even pursued things with the Attorney General's office because we were trying to get a ruling from her saying that I don't see any reasons that, and she did respond and refused to give that ruling. That's it. She would allow it to come through the state of New York.
Yeah, they can.
So that that kind of, and when we heard that,
Yeah.
that's when we said, all right, we need to find another location
Right.
because they had the dome. It was a little different, unique. They already own the dome, and you can only store it for such a period of time before it begins to start sticking together and it loses its quality and it's not, so they had already purchased the dome and they were like, we need to build now and we can't go through the year-long process.
Understood.
They would have loved to have been up on Route 25 where it's more significant, more view, as the pass-bys, but they didn't have the time because they already had the dome and they didn't want to store it for a year. So that was the unique difference.
So, one of the things that I had mentioned to you, so when they build an indoor hockey rink, I said this dome is going to be, empty. And I said, what Ken expressed that he would like to do indoor soccer and lacrosse, and you said that's perfect because you're going to create a demand and having.
Oh, the demand's there.
Demand is there, you're gonna create a location.
You
Now
build
you
it, they
got-
will
now you
come,
got a
there's no
hot
question.
sock,
We
you
could
got
have
a
3 of them
mecca.
and they're gonna be utilized. I mean,
Exactly.
the demand is, it's exponential. There's no question. It's just,
And that's
as Ken's
important.
alluding to, it's a matter of how we figure this out, how we get this done.
And I'm confident it can be done. It
Yeah,
just
it
takes
takes
time.
time. No question.
But what Bob is correct is that I think that the ice rink has been very successful, and I think it's going to be looking to moving, to a more brick and mortar style building. And then there's gonna be upgrades and so forth to sewer and electrical and all those things that still have to be brought in. But then I think, then the answer is yes, that dome will always remain standing. That is our facility. It's owned by the town. So when they move into a brick and mortar building, we have that bubble there. It could coincide with your activities in terms of like, you can have, if
Oh,
you have
sure.
a volleyball tournament, you
Sure.
can have, multiple games going on in one and multiple games going on the other, and then there's
Absolutely.
a championship weekend, because it is our structure. Presumably that would be the same, we haven't really clarified is what, if we're doing the same, like, I think you need to present that to the alienation of parkland. If you're building this facility and you're donating it to Town of Riverhead and now it becomes our facility, and then what you're really looking for is a license and manager contract, and obviously we've just recently done that, so we could work out those details.
Yeah, that's exactly.
But it's just,
We'll work that out with Eric.
And you said the demand is there, that you could put up 3 of these domes and fill them.
No question. No
So it
question.
wouldn't be a competition with the dome.
Oh, absolutely
I think-
not.
I
No,
think-
absolutely
Right.
not. I mean, look, the more the merrier, but that's part of the whole sports complex,
Right.
because they're gonna come back and they're gonna be telling us it is lacrosse, or it's basketball, it's football, it's, that's why we spent $70,000 on a sports complex study, for them to come back and go, here's the best thing you can conceive it. But the initial beginnings of the study said, this is premier land because of the 2 ferry locations and the ability of tournaments. I mean, I grew up playing my games up in Massachusetts and Maine and going traveling around, and soccer, my brothers, they were all, they were going to Connecticut and
Sure.
Rhode Island for soccer tournaments, things like that. How about people start traveling south
No.
to us, but it's like,
All day.
and our community directors, she's been going back and forth to Maryland for lacrosse tournaments
All
all the
day.
time with her kids and so forth. It's a premier location. It's easy accessible off of William Floyd Parkway. It's accessible by ferry. So their initial consultant was like, "This is great."
Home run.
And now we're going to prove towards what it should be. So there's no question about building a bubble, but you'll learn what's the most successful path in terms of the sport. That's going to be, and maybe a multitude of sports.
Right.
Problem would be the parents will need a bigger car to keep hockey equipment in the trunk for the kid, and then the lacrosse equipment, because a lot of hockey players play lacrosse.
Right.
And they cross over the lines of both sports, and, it's a good problem to have.
Very nice. Yeah, very true. And as you were talking about earlier with
And
the
you got a place to
hotels,
go.
I mean, we have it, it's
And
great.
restaurants.
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, the vineyards, everything's here to make a weekend out of it for people coming,
Right.
from Connecticut or from Mass to come over. It affords so much. It's just one of the things that, I think, as we talk about it, and these tests show, you need minimum of 6 fields outdoor to run a tournament. It's just how it has to work. Most of these tournaments, they have 2 locations. So if you did like something at Stotsky and you did it here, at Memorial, you could have that ability to run, 4 fields at Stotsky, 6 here, and now you're really taking it to the next level. You break up age brackets, you could break up, different, girls, boys, whatever it might be, to work that in. That's how you really take this location and put the flag down and say, as we've all alluded to, every Memorial Day, somebody goes to a tournament, Hershey, the Connecticut, it's the same thing. They have Labor Day, Columbus Day weekend, it's always a tournament. This could be the spot for not only Suffolk, but bringing people in from outside. And for lacrosse, it would be a no-brainer, because we don't have to make the signs and bring, the advertisement in. This is Long Island, lacrosse is here. We have to do a little pushing for soccer, but lacrosse is here, no question about it. They will come.
I'm just gonna, what I like also is the fact that the lacrosse season is November to April.
No, that's the season when there's you can't play outside because it's
Oh,
cold or
okay.
snow.
So
they play
the height,
year
pretty much. That's the
round.
height.
So there are tournaments in that time?
Yeah, sure,
The season
sure.
is in the
Yeah.
spring.
So the beautiful thing
Yeah,
about
indoor
that
class.
is that helps our economy off-season.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I mean, that's,
That's a
that's
good
what, hotels are basically empty, so that really helps the Riverhead economy.
Definitely.
And, I like that a lot. I'm gonna just say, and you're gonna have to visit when you're out here on one Sunday, Strawberry Fields in Mattatuck, which goes straight down Sound Avenue, and you'll see what the demand for soccer is. It started out,
Lacrosse too, they play lacrosse.
yeah,
It's the
like
same thing.
nothing. Now it is huge.
They do tournaments there every year.
Yeah.
I remember in high school, we would come to Greenport. They have a huge outdoor lacrosse tournament for the high school.
Yep, absolutely.
And that was 20 years ago, so,
Yep.
and lacrosse was still very popular, but it's nowhere near what it is
And on the
today.
East End, it was still in its kind of
Yeah,
in
it
its
was
infancy 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago, there was at least, I would say, 2,000 people there.
Oh, it was packed.
Yeah,
Packed.
it
Yeah,
was great.
my son played out there.
Yep.
Okay.
Good
So the
stuff.
only thing is that I would ask, and if the board considers that, if, like, in terms of alienation of parkland and other things, it is an immense legal amount, and I would like to see a qualified and eligible buyer, application be filled out that showing that the town, that you have the funds available to pursue this project before we have our legal department invest an enormous amount of time in the process of it.
Yeah, I mean,
Anybody donate anything?
So from our standpoint, in regards to the funds, we have capital investors that we've been working with. They're interested in the project. They've been from inception, which is now over 2 years that I've been dealing with it. It's one of the things that I know you guys are indicating, but from what I do and what I've done, everything is reputational based, right? So I have a situation where Bob has asked me. We have 197 lacrosse teams that we work with in Long Island. That stretch out from the travel from Express to 91 and Yellow Jacket and so forth. I know everybody. All right, so I can pipe that in a second. But I'm not about to go and say to people, "Oh, I need your signatures," or "I need you guys to sign something," when I don't know where I stand. Right? I keep coming to the meetings. I keep coming. I need to understand where we're going to be. It seems like everyone wants to do it. I'm ready to do it. From the funds perspective, I have 10 investors, right, besides the 2 of us. The money's there, but I'm not going to sit there and show money that's not getting interest on returns, because that's how my guys work, when I don't have a deal or a project
The
in place.
agreements,
So,
I think the agreement's next. The agreement, you have to, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the next step, according to when I spoke to the attorney, is we'll sit down with the attorney, and you guys have to agree to what you're gonna, what it's going to be, and then you move on from there.
It needs to get more formalized, and the Q&E is going to be definitely a necessity in the process, because we don't want to invest time of our employees in it too if the funds aren't there, if you're not capable of pulling
Right,
it
but if
off.
they're
We don't
gonna
want to spin
donate it
everybody
like the
loose.
hockey did, right? And the hockey has cost us a fortune. They
Yeah, but
donated
they
a dome
still had to
without
show
a
us
key.
they had monies available to construct the dome and everything else. We still had to do the Q&E.
No, that's not, I know, but I think that they need to look at it, agree, if they can't agree on something,
Right.
then they can't even move forward.
Right, no, I understand that.
No, then you would do
Yep.
the Q&A.
I think it's a great project. I think it is a huge need for it. I don't think you would have a problem getting your return back if
No,
you built it.
No question with that. Yeah.
But there are hurdles with the state that, as Ken said, it's gonna be time consuming, but I think the sooner we come together and start to get some sort of an agreement, the faster you can, get started and move ahead.
Yeah, again, I mean, I think the conversations that we had were avoiding the alienation by, doing the land swap. If that's not feasible,
Again, you still have to go to the alienation of parkland in order to do a land swap. Like, you can't just take it upon
Okay.
yourself to go, I'm going to give you land someplace else. You still gotta go through the state. And that could be part of your offer, to them, but they're still saying this is deemed park land.
Regardless.
So, if you're gonna use it for that, and you're giving it something else, you're still gonna have to show that to the state of New York in order for them to approve it.
understood, and we've understood that, but at the same time, the process I was told was not as long as going through the alienation if there was a swap. If you're telling me it is, then that's a different conversation then. So I haven't started
I can't tell you
the,
it's longer or shorter.
right, I
don't know that.
I haven't started the alienation process because as we talked a year ago, and you alluded to it being a year, that was a process that we said, let's not get into the weeds on that if we're gonna look to do the swap, which wouldn't be as long. If it is, then, okay, then we should start ASAP, clearly. Wasting time or monetary is not the issue for me or for anything you guys need to see. It's just a matter of getting a contract that we can agree on, answering your question about, is this gonna be leased, is this gonna be donated? This is what I need to see, right? I need to have my investors, everybody understand what we're doing, and then fundamentally going into the next level of if I need to, pay for the alienation process, fine. It's just a matter of, is that land that we've talked about comfortable for everybody? Is that where the X is gonna be drawn? That's what I was trying to work with Park and Rec for the last year to come to an agreement of where does it best suit, Veterans Memorial? This was a location that we all came up with. If it works with everybody, then boom, we have that done, checked. Let's look to the contract, then let's look to the alienation. That's how I see it, so we're not wasting anybody's time. But I understand if it's a year, I'd rather get the ball rolling. And then, as you're talking about coinciding, I'm not gonna coincide with a $6 million build until I have my ducks in a row, right? I mean, I'm not getting guys money for a 2-year deal right now that it sounds like when they're not gonna get anything back for 2 years. It's not how business works. Like this utopian idea of donating something and the town running it and the state running it, Letitia James saying that to you guys, that's crazy, right? Like
You
who
can
would ever do
You can
that?
still incorporate, collect the funds from others and then invest your funds as a corporation, and then upon construction, release those funds.
Right, so, again, from the world that I'm in, which has been the finance world and everything else, it's not how people like to hold their funds and move money, right? They put it to a project, that's where the money's gonna be, that's where it's locked up. To incorporate the funds and me not have a direction on something else for the next 2 years, it just doesn't work in business that way. So this is the project, this is the money that I have slotted, but the understanding has to be, okay, we have the X, we have the contract agreed, now it's the alienation, if that's the case. So I know I have a timeline, and I can go to these guys and talk, but 2 years now I've been trying to figure out where I am, trying to figure out what goes on, and I have these investors. They're not gonna put money up until I have something that is agreed upon by everybody. I'm not there, right? Clearly. So I keep moving forward with you guys,
You
and
don't have to necessarily have the funds like in an account. In your qualified and eligible thing, you can simply list, and each of those investors would list their, provide their own financial status.
I mean, that's not a problem at all.
Anne Marie, could you come up maybe and just, Anne Marie's our deputy town attorney.
Hi, Emery, how are you?
She's somewhat familiar with this process.
I think we met once.
So my first comment is, when you started out and Councilman Rothwell was asking you a question, you stated you weren't sure if you were looking to buy property, lease property, or license property. So it really begins with you, because if you're looking to purchase, then legally, there are certain requirements. If it's a license agreement, it's gonna be something else. Where you wanna put it, that's gonna be somewhere else. When you talk about swapping land, the town would not legally go through the state process of swapping its own land for another piece of its own land. When you talk about swapping land to replenish an alienation, that's when a private entity takes public parkland and in turn gives back to the municipal entity different lands that the town board would deem suitable. So this isn't a land swap. So that should be like off the table. What it really is, and the direction and how it moves forward, is you deciding, are you looking to purchase property, lease property, license property? And then we would move from there. And then myself, Eric, could give very clear direction.
Well, I appreciate that designation. Again, for me and from the beginning to answer your question, it's never been an issue of buying, leasing, or licensing. It's been a matter of where this location can best be suited for the town. And with that being said, what we've found is that there is parkland, state parkland, that was up before, that was open and empty. And then there's Town of Riverhead land that I was told, which was the bottom. So the swap that I was indicating, again, understanding what you're saying, private to public, I was told we're swapping state parkland from town. So the Town of Riverhead is donating that to the state of New York on the parkland side. That's what I was told was the swap.
Okay, so let's
Okay, so again,
dump the swap.
That's
and
like a
just
double
move
loss
to-
for the town.
No.
well, a double loss. You're not being utilized the land at all right now. So it's
But we own the land.
This is what was discussed the last time.
Okay, that's probably, something must have got lost or confused, because that doesn't
All
make
right,
sense.
so let's forget about
Doesn't
the
work.
land swap. Let's just go to where it is now, and if they
Right.
donate, that, you
So
know.
can you
but
show
again,
me?
getting back to your
on the
buying,
map.
leasing, or licensing, it's not for me. It's none of it's where it works for the location, and then if it's Town of Riverhead land, then we're talking about a lease, right? If it's
Well,
if it's
no,
no, it's
it could be a
parkland.
sale.
It's-
It depends what
can
land,
sell
where the
parkland?
land, no, it depends. I
Okay.
haven't
Right.
seen where you're looking to locate. Is it here?
yeah, that's where we were
Okay.
talking about locating.
So
That was
this
state
is-
land.
It's
Right.
not state land.
town-
It's
town
town
land.
land.
This is all
Parkland.
town land.
That's
Town
parkland.
that
It's town
is deemed as
parkland.
parkland.
It's not
Okay,
state.
it's told CDA.
We were told it
Okay.
was state and that this was town, and then
No.
we're gonna swap.
This
No, no, they-
entire
All right.
parcel is Town of Riverhead, own land. Some of it
It's
is-
zoned parkland, and then the rear portion that you're looking at is zoned for recreational use. But
Okay.
it's all Town of Riverhead land,
This area here,
So why did you not go in front?
because we already deemed it as parkland.
correct.
So
We-
it only could be used for park facilities, not for private entities. That's what a town park is. So you can't, a private entity can't go into a town park and build a structure and start.
Even if the
retail.
private entity is giving you the structure and they're managing it, you still can't do it.
Yeah, it's still a private entity working off of parkland. You can't do it.
This public-private partnership.
So what, just to explain to you, just, and I won't belabor the point. This entire piece of land owned by the Town of Riverhead, don't quote me on the exact acreage, 92
92.
acres.
Plus or minus.
64 acres of it, the town had accepted federal and state funding for park improvements. And when it did that, in all the plans it submitted for the funding, it identified this 64-acre piece. And we accepted the money, and we made improvements utilizing the money. It's dedicated parkland. The additional acreage was added on at the time the town was considering a subdivision plan. Monies, grant monies, have not been applied to the remainder of the property. So the alienation comes in. This probably would be a terrific site, but it would require alienation legislation, and the town, I don't believe, would look to convey this property to you, because it doesn't make sense to, in the middle of a park, carve out a piece and let you purchase a different piece for the town to consider under state law as the swap. So this piece here would require alienation, and you would require, quote, some type of license agreement with a benefit to the town, a commitment, a financial commitment, and proof of financial wherewithal to actually build this out and put in the necessary improvements. Like you said, one of the big issues is going to be parking. And we live and learn every time we do a project. We learn with Pecanacaki that there are water demands, hydrant demands, parking demands. And you yourself, the way you described, this probably would be a very utilized, high-demand facility. So those improvements would have to go along with it. So those,
Yep, I'm sorry, continue.
no, those are the things that you would have to talk about.
We
And-
have, and we're fully aware of
Okay.
the need for the water, as we've indicated, with the parking, as I've indicated, and those are the things we would build out, we've agreed to do.
Okay.
So that's all, I mean.
Okay.
It comes down to, which I keep bringing back, is to where this facility goes.
Well-
And then the steps are, as you're indicating, it's an alienation, which that was the process now we have to go to. From the leasing perspective, buying, that, it was always talked about as a lease. It was never talked about as a buy. It was always talked about us leasing the land from the town once this swap, which doesn't
Well,
exist.
it's going to be a
would have-
license.
The license agreement for the lease of the management rights. So that's what we're looking at.
It's going to be a complete license agreement. We're not going to lease you this land.
No, I know you're not leasing me the land, but
We have to own it. We're going to
you
own
do
it.
own it, right? There's no
Yeah, but
contesting
we
that.
have to own the structure. So
Yeah.
anything that you
Yeah.
put there becomes the property of the town of Riverhead.
Correct.
And then you are giving a license agreement to operate your facility for X number of years. You
Correct.
may choose to sign a 20-year operating agreement. So you're not leasing, you're building it. You're saying, here's the keys.
Yep.
It is your facility. We own it. But we don't have the staffing to manage it, to run it. So now your proposal simultaneously, you'd be saying, I want to put together a license agreement where I can run this facility for the town of Riverhead for the next 25 years, whatever.
And you're going to have to
years.
deliver concrete benefits to the residents of the town of Riverhead.
He's already,
Which we've-
before
which
you
we've
got
already
there,
said
he's already
earlier.
stated that, so you missed it.
No, I mean, from your perspective of like water parking, the benefits, all of this stuff's been addressed over the years. The dome, purchasing, leasing, managing, all been addressed over the years.
Licensing.
Sorry, licensing. It's a matter of where and how we get it done. Comes down to that.
Okay, but up until I started, I didn't know if you were purchasing, seeking
No,
a
it's
lease.
gonna be a license agreement.
Okay.
You came in
It sounds
halfway
like,
through
quite
this.
honestly, you guys need to set up an appointment with the town attorney's office.
That's exactly what I
and-
said.
and
That's
sit
what Eric
down.
wants to do.
Yeah.
He's aware
I mean,
of
you
this.
brought it to us, which you needed to do. We needed to come
Yeah.
to a work session. But I think for you to get to where you need to be, you need to sit down with them and
Yeah.
have a discussion, a hard discussion about how it can be done.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, thank
I
you.
would love to see it.
Yeah.
It's an excellent location, it's an excellent spot. The feasibility is there. It's just there has to, there's.
You got a process.
You gotta go,
Yeah.
you gotta go through the necessary steps.
And that's-
We can't sit here and go, yeah, build it, like,
And if
they've
you
gotta get
go-
clearance. Because we've used grant money to build a parking, a road, a bike trail, and once you've applied that grant money in there, that's how it's deemed as parkland. because then
Understood.
You can't use that grant money for a private entity.
Understood.
And what would be really beneficial, if you go online, New York State Department of Parks, Historic, they'll give you can click on alienation, and it'll give you an outline of the factors they consider, the factors, the
Sure.
hurdles, which give you a clear description of what you must deliver to the municipality and the residents.
And the reason why I think it could be successful over time is that it's currently unutilized parkland. And that's the difference. So you're not building this on top of pre-existing baseball fields.
Right.
It's
Right.
the unutilized land.
Okay.
That's gonna be stated in your
So,
application
and
to the state.
Okay.
Yeah, and just so you know, Eric asked for this to go to a work session, and the next step is to sit with
Yeah,
him.
that's,
And
makes perfect sense.
With that, I put a call into Evan, our consultant.
Who's Evan, our consultant?
He's doing,
He's not our consultant. We
he's
paid
consulting,
him-
go ahead, on a
He's
sports
doing a sports complex study.
study. He's
It's not-
doing a
he's not-
study.
He's not a consultant.
No,
He's-
okay, he's doing a
A
study.
study for the town.
And he is familiar with public-private partnerships. I don't think, I mean, for me, I've seen them in Nassau County. They're doing them all over the place now because
Bob,
you know this. So,
For
and
years.
I've got a call into him to try to get some guidance from him on other public-private things. I've gotten some contracts that were done in Manhasset, for example, just to look at. But we'll set up a meeting to meet with Eric,
Okay.
all right? And that's
The
next step.
non-consultant.
No, Eric is,
Eric
Eric is the attorney.
No, Eric is
No, Evan is the study
I
guy.
know Eric Howard, obviously.
Evan's the study guy.
So,
Evan's the guy you're going to be leasing from.
No, he's not.
No.
No, I'm teasing.
Oh my God. Eric's the guy that, he's gonna fix your car. He does auto body work too.
It's a great idea. It really is.
no, I know, we've been working to it, so we'll get it done.
I mean, you were asked to wait 6 months when we first started to see how the alienation of parks went with the hockey, and that fell through, and then,
Right.
so, hey,
and worst case scenario, we have a lot of property we can sell.
Well, that's
somewhere else.
that's the thing too, Anne Marie.
If it
You know,
doesn't
as I'm
pass.
saying, I don't. Everyone's talking about, oh, this is such a great spot. You know, the hockey would have been wanted to be up there. I'm not looking at it like we're selling something up there. I don't. It doesn't matter where we go. I mean, look at the water park that that Eric has made. These guys, doesn't matter where they're. You don't see it from the road. People come all day long. It doesn't matter. It's the demand. This could be 5 miles inland and not seen. People are going to come. I'm not selling the scene off of 25. So
That's
it's,
one of the first questions that I said to you is, did you participate in the study? Because the second phase of the study is where it comes into town private entity partnerships, so government and private partnerships agreements. And they are going to make recommendations, and if you participate in that study, you could have said, well, we want to be one of your entities, because they're going to come back and say, you should build football fields, you should build lacrosse fields, you should build a racetrack, and you do those things, and you say, I want to be one of those entities.
Yeah.
And if the EPCAL sale doesn't go through, and we end, we know it didn't go through, but if we win our legal cases and that's put behind us, I mean, I think there's a number of people on this board that support development from that 7,000-foot runway all the way up to Veterans Memorial Park. And then that may be a prize land for you, and you don't have to worry about parks and alienation. You can build off of the runway. Sites would be part of the whole build-out of the sports complex study that's been there.
Yeah, that's a beautiful upside, except for the fact that we are in a lawsuit, which could last 5 years. As if you want to wait for that to be over.
That's for him to decide.
Well, no, that's what I'm
No,
giving
no,
him that
but
option.
clearly,
But then you
They're
could buy
not
the land if
interested
you waited
in
and we went through the
purchasing.
legal, and you say, I want to buy it and
Well,
want
I
to be the
wouldn't,
sole
I'm not gonna
guy.
make decisions for them, because
Right.
how I met him, I didn't know Peter, was a real estate person called me and said, this guy's looking for land to do this. And it was shortly after I had met with Ken and the hockey people, and I thought, this would be great to bring this all together into Veterans Park, which did a study in 2004, and here we are in 2024, 20 years later, and, hockey was put in last year. So, I'm not into, we got tons of studies that we've paid for that are on the shelves doing nothing. But, all right, we'll meet with Eric. Let's
that's the
not
plan.
convolute this all and,
That's the plan.
no. I'm not. I just wanted to kind of have the conversation. I appreciate you guys taking the time because we haven't all met. Obviously, I've met Ken before, but I appreciate you taking the time so we have it on the table and we understand. And thank you for the clarifications on the
You want to
allegations.
reach out at any point, you want to sit down
Yeah.
outside of this, I'll gladly sit down and kind of tell you what we've learned so far.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that greatly, taking the time. So
I mean, I'll
it'd
tell
be
you,
very
3 years
helpful.
ago, I didn't know anything about alienation of parkland.
No, I know.
I feel like I've been studying it.
Yeah, no. Your knowledge is so vast in regards to it, and it's, huge right now. So if you are willing to do that, I can't thank you enough. That'd be great.
Yeah, reach out.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you.
Joanne knows
Appreciate it.
Evan,
Yeah.
who's doing the
Thank you.
consulting study.
Now I'm confused.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, nice to meet you.
You too.
I think Evan goes out with Jane, yeah.
Yes.
I think Jane's driving him around.
All right, next up, we have matters surrounding Cornell Shellfish Community Aquaculture Restoration and Education. CARE. Come on up. Denise,
Yes,
lead off with this.
all right. Amanda Hannafin from
Yes.
Cornell Cooperative Extension is here to talk to us.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all too. Yeah, I'm Amanda. I'm with Cornell Cooperative. I'm a shellfish educator.
I'm just going to ask you to speak up louder
Oh,
because your
sure.
voice is soft
Amanda,
and the
yes,
microphones
mic-
aren't
so the
going to hear
mic
you.
picks you up, you're gonna have to just speak into the mic.
Sure, no problem. I'm a shellfish educator with Cornell Cooperative Extension, and right now we are trying to expand our shellfish care program. CARE, you can go to the next slide. It stands for Community Aquaculture Restoration and Education. Go to the next slide. Sorry. Do I have a can I click
No,
through?
you just speak up louder so he hears you.
Yeah, you talk to
okay.
him, he's listening.
Sorry. So what our objectives are is to increase awareness and educational aspects for oyster restoration on our local ecosystem with our community members. And we want to provide an opportunity for hands-on volunteer experience with restoration work for town members and students, anybody who wants to come get involved. What we do is we plant oysters in uncertified waters to basically, these waters are impaired and we're trying to clean them, and oysters are a great natural
Filter.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and our ultimate goal from this is to create oyster reefs that act as spawner sanctuaries. So you can go to the next slide. These are our current locations. Right now, we're very west of Suffolk focused. Our first site was at Gold Star Battalion Beach in Huntington. And since then, that was back in 2022. Since then, we have expanded to multiple yacht clubs along the South Shore and the North Shore, and we're in the process of creating more public sites for people to come visit, because these private yacht clubs, they're not open to community members. Only their own members are allowed to join this program. You can go to the next slide. So what we use is called spat on shell. It's a piece of recycled clam, oyster, just any type of shellfish shell. And what we do is we set baby oysters on them, and these become building blocks of oyster reefs. So they start very, very small, and they grow into that only after a couple months, really.
Where is your facility that you're doing that at the beginning stages?
So that facility is out in Southold. It's our Cornell's hatchery out there. They specialize in spat on shell. And these are not commercially desirable. People who do it for commercial purposes, they like single set oysters, better look. You can, put them out on some ice and it looks pretty with lemons and people love them. But people don't really like these, and they are all, since they're put in uncertified water bodies, they're too, they're not up for human consumption. So this is a map of the uncertified water bodies in the town of Riverhead. Where we are proposing is at East Creek Marina. It is an uncertified water area. You can go to the next slide. And so what we would be doing is we would be putting this spat on shell in these modified milk crates that we create, and we hang them with eye bolts off of the docks. And they're suspended in the water with rope, and about every week, every 2 weeks, however often the community members want to do this, they come in, they lift them up, we clean them, do a whole process, and within a couple months, the entire, we fill a very shallow layer. By the end of the summer, it's absolutely bursting, basically. They grow really, really fast.
And then where do you go with them? Is that the next step?
Yeah,
you
so
move
our
them to a reef, or
Yeah, our next step would be to move them to a reef. this summer, if we are able to do it this summer, we probably wouldn't be able to put it in a reef in East Creek just with permitting through the DEC, but that would be an ultimate goal, is to have an oyster reef there. So to be able to plant them on there for artificial and natural recruitment.
For the
So
purpose of cleaning the water.
exactly, yes. So
And it doesn't look very intrusive at all. This is it? It would hang off a dock?
it would hang off the dock. This is actually an example of a public site out in Huntington right now. It's run by the Huntington Rotary Club. Our site, we would want to have it run solely by Cornell Cooperative members. But this is an example of what we want it to kind of look like. You know, with the tent, people are set up, you know, they have water, there's hoses to spray down the oysters to clean them. Kids really like to get involved in this. So what we would do is we would have volunteers come every Saturday, every other Saturday, however popular it is would really depend on the demand, and have people clean them and collect data so that we can measure the oyster's length and then see how much spat is on each piece of shell, which I'll show you pictures of that later so you can kind of get a better understanding of what that
Are you
looks
using
like.
the seawater to clean them, or like are you just pumping it right out, or are you using like a freshwater line?
Either one would work, honestly. We just, we need, like either a freshwater hookup, or we can use like a pumping system to clean them off. So we started this in 2021, and but the pilot tests were done to see if this actually worked, if the oysters actually grew. And they started out with 10 milk crates to test it and monitored their growth and survival throughout the summer. And this is what it looked like. So in June, you can see on the shells, all those little brown specks are baby oysters that have set on the shell. And then by September, they're,
That's a lot of growth.
yeah, they
That's
grow
fast.
really fast. It's
Wow.
shocking. Like, that's why it's so much fun to involve the community in it, because, at first, for the first couple weeks, they just look like, shells with little dots on them, and then you really see them just absolutely take off over the summer, and it's really cool to see. So yeah, by the end of 2021, the oysters were almost 2 full inches in length. So they grow really, really quickly.
And Amanda, how long is the season? When does it start?
So we would ideally start setting up in June, and then having the volunteers come July and August. It's easier over the summer. Sometimes we like to do a Friday, sometimes we do Saturday. Kids are out of school. They can come have an activity to do, learn about the environment, learn about oyster restoration, and we would end in September. And September is when we would have our diver plant all of the oysters onto whatever reef we would have set up for the time.
So you're ready right away this June to go at it, like immediately?
I mean, it's not that much setup. We wouldn't
Just
be
a little
opposed.
spit on the shell.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we would just need to install some eye bolts into the marina docks, and it wouldn't interrupt boaters because we would do it on the sides where the boaters wouldn't be parking. And David Lassard even said that he would be willing to let us hang some milk crates off of his docks out there, and he has electrical he would be willing to help us use. He's already, been very supportive, which is
He does
great.
our
Clams.
clam
Yes.
seed
Yeah.
program. He and
Yes.
his brother have done that for years, and
Yeah,
they're great supporters of the Bay. So
yeah. He used to work for Cornell,
Oh,
which is
okay.
cool. I didn't know that until we got on the
Right.
phone with him, but so he seemed very supportive of this, which
Yeah.
would be really helpful. So yeah,
nature's filters. I
Exactly.
mean, is what it comes down to.
exactly.
It's nice.
Yeah. So this is the average growth that we saw over the year 2022. So from July 1st to September 10th, we saw that the baby oysters grew from a little over 5 millimeters to almost 45 millimeters. So it's, they grow so fast. It's pretty cool.
Lots of nitrates,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they
That's
just
how
take
they grow.
off. Yeah, exactly.
fortunately.
Go to the next slide, please. Yeah. So this is our 2022 to 2024 expansion. Every year we have added new yacht clubs. Every year they have, increased their crate numbers, the number of crates they buy. Setauket Harbor Task Force just joined us 2024. It's going to be another public site run by that task force in Setauket. 2023, we had 250,000 oysters total going out into the oyster reefs. And this year it's going to be even more. We're working on those numbers right now. Yeah, so people love this program. You know, they get really excited, really involved. The yacht clubs have been increasing their crates every year because they have, you know, on the days where, you know, it's like the junior sailing team can't go out because it's crappy weather, they come over and they just clean the oysters and like learn more about them. And people like it too because when they pull it up, a lot of times there's like eels in it, there's blue crabs, there's all types of fish, sea bass, and it's really cool for people to see. Like, they really like learning about the ecosystem, and it brings that natural recruitment of these species that, you know, wouldn't normally come to that area are now there because of these crates and the oysters.
And maybe with all this happening over time, maybe our scallops might start to come back because of the
Cleaning the
cleaner
water.
water.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is a good first step to something like that. Exactly.
What do you typically make the artificial reefs out of? Like, so, like in the next phase. So, I think you'll be
Yeah,
awesomely successful. But then
yeah.
where do you go from there? Do you, is it?
We
it,
build our reefs solely from this spat.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. We don't use anything like artificial. Technically, we have what we do is we get recycled shell and we cure it for at least 6 months to make sure all the bacteria is dead, and then we use that to set the oyster larvae on, and they do that out in Southold.
Where do you get the oyster larvae from?
They produce it at Southold. They spawn the oysters that they get. They'll go out and collect oysters naturally. They bring them to the hatchery. They condition them with certain food for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then they spawn them and create their own babies, and then set them onto these oyster shells or clam shells, whatever we can get our hands on, really. Yeah.
So
It's really interesting.
It
So
is.
to get going in June, you need like a resolution to go
Yes.
through, right? But even
That's
if
why I
we,
wanted Amanda to come to the board.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a resolution this
Yeah. So our goal would have in Riverhead would be to set this site up at East Creek Marina and basically have it mostly run by volunteers. Like, I would be there to help run everything. We could get some dock leaders, people in the community who become official Cornell Cooperative volunteers to help run the site as well. And then, you know, we would be doing a lot of our own fundraising. My plan was to create shirts and hats and sell them at some of the breweries around here. I know that Greenport Brewery really likes to do talks like these. People get involved, and a lot of times they donate some proceeds of, you know, if you buy this beer, and
Right.
then some of the proceeds will go to the program. So we're going to be doing a lot of our own fundraising. We would absolutely love if the town would help in any capacity, because we need about $5,000 to start this project up, but it's not necessary. Like, we'll be doing a lot of our own
So
fundraising.
I think Dawn is here, right? So we have CBGB money, and we can ask Dawn what the process is to apply for that.
Okay, that would be great.
Dawn,
Also,
is
we're,
June, I'm sorry,
no.
is the June 4th, like, is our next town board meeting? So is this something we can add a resolution to it to get her going?
Yeah, well, we can ratify it and let her get going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dawn,
Absolutely.
I don't know if CBG money qualifies for this project, but they
No.
want to, no?
Nope, low to moderate income area only.
What about
These
poor
are
oysters?
poor oysters.
These are poor oysters, that's what I said, these are poor oysters.
not certified
It's
water.
basic, it's basically
Okay, I thought
downtown
I'd ask.
Riverhead.
There's
and,
no pearls in
okay.
these oysters, they're poor.
and
So if
it's,
they get them off the docks at like
the way,
Treasure Cove
the
or
way
something.
that CDBG could be used is if, as a not-for-profit, they apply for funding next year as one of our public service groups,
Okay.
then that's one way you could do it. But any other money that we have is low to moderate income area only. So it's like Polish Town, Stotsky Park, and downtown. And that's literally it throughout the town.
Well,
Gotcha.
I don't know if you had heard the other part. Amanda was talking about how it's part of an educational tool that they'll be teaching everybody. So maybe
Yeah.
in that regard, the public
Yeah.
service group.
The public services,
Yeah.
you have a lot of competition for that funding,
Right.
so
Gotcha.
you have a lot,
Yeah.
but there's not a ton of it. The
Right.
most that's available is probably between $5,000 and $8,000
Yeah.
annually, but
Gotcha.
it's something.
Yeah, it's something.
They only need 5. You
That's
can
true.
use the other 3 for something else.
Yeah,
Have
if
you
everyone buys T-shirts.
Have you spoken to the ROTC at all about, being volunteers?
I haven't, but once we get a little bit further, they were actually going to be some of the members that I reached out to come as, do volunteer work there.
What if we did it off the docks downtown, where it's low income?
It's gotta be for park
I
and
get it, I'm just
pedestrian
saying.
improvements, it's a
Yeah.
limited fund.
Okay.
Capital improvements, things
Right.
like that are helpful to the residents, in getting to and from places.
How do we handle
Plus, it's a
parking
little more
permits for
brackish
that?
water there. I don't know how that would work with the oysters down
That
behind
water
town.
is I think too
Too
polluted.
too much
Yeah,
fresh water.
the
when they
problem
come
Great,
in.
the water I'm gonna paddle on?
Yeah.
Let's go.
The problem is with that water. That water is polluted from the waste treatment plant that's there, and it's filled with bacteria that oysters do not do well in. In the future, if you'd ever want to consider doing a restoration project there, though, rib mussels are amazing
Okay.
at cleaning water like that.
What type of mussels?
Ribbed mussels.
Ribbed.
We actually have a project right now out in Bergen Basin in New York City that we're going to be doing this summer. It's a basin that's right near the airport. It is extremely impaired. So much bacteria. They're going to be planting a huge area of rib mussels out there to clean that water, because clams and oysters are a little bit more sensitive. Rib mussels are very hardy, and people don't like to eat them. They're not very commercially valuable. So, if you ever want a project for the future, yeah,
Sounds good.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. But
Very good.
Can we just go back to my question of how we're going to handle the beach permit parking with this? Is there, because you're saying that volunteers are going to be coming in?
yes, do people need permits to park in that parking lot?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
We can
Yeah.
set that up with the recreation department, where they'll give you a placard
Mhm.
that can be distributed to the volunteers to be able to
Perfect.
go in there and.
That would be great.
Great.
Okay.
I don't want anybody to get a ticket.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, exactly. Yeah, me either, especially if that's something that help.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we just want to have like a public site to help, educate the community about this stuff. And a lot of people find it really, really interesting. They want to come down and bring
It is
their family.
interesting.
And yeah, and up in Huntington at the public site, they have so many volunteers a week, and they age range from ages 6 to 75 or 76 or something. Like, people really like this program. So,
I like how enthusiastic you are about it.
oh,
You
thanks.
just like light
This
up as you're
program
talking
this
about it.
program's kind of my baby. So
That's
I'm
great.
trying to like expand it a little bit more.
Good for
in
you.
this, and so, it's exciting. It's fun. It's fun work for me to go out on docks all day and clean oysters. It's a good job.
I'll come down and help.
Oh, thanks. We appreciate
I
it.
live right around the corner.
Awesome. Perfect.
I think we can help you with like a fundraising event too, or something like that.
Well,
We
I was
can
going to
That would be
mention
great, yeah.
how we got involved with each other too is with the Cornell Cooperative Extension when I went there,
Yeah.
and it was about the fresh seafood.
Yeah.
And everybody was asking for help, and we're going to be having them. The fresh seafood are going to be part of the country fair.
Yes.
That by Townscape in October, so you can participate in that as well.
That would be great. We'd love to set up a booth
I
there.
mentioned you to Tara McClintock yesterday. We had a meeting.
Oh, great.
So, and I have her cards to give you as well.
Perfect.
So we'll definitely help you out in that regard too. That could help with your fundraising, being
That would
down
be
there.
great. That would be great.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. So really, all we need from you is permission to use the dock, the slips for people, who are volunteers, to make sure that they can access the lot.
Here comes a problem.
So we're gonna need a license,
Yes.
license,
Yes.
and hold harmless,
Here
and
comes
in
the
that,
hammer.
and believe me,
Yeah.
we just completed one
Yeah.
for oysters.
Yeah.
So it's a quick template, quick turnaround, but it even provides for the parking,
Yeah.
restrictions in the use of our parking permits. It's all like already
Good.
done.
It's a
It'll be
boilerplate.
quick.
Cool.
Yeah.
It'll be quick.
Let's
Yeah.
do this so we can get it started, and even if we have to ratify it before
Yep.
the next board
Yeah.
meeting,
Yep.
because the time is of essence with
Yeah.
you to get it started in
Yeah.
early
And so the
June.
clarification, you're looking to put it in the area where the boats dock.
Yes,
Okay.
they would be hanging off of the
Got
marina. Yeah.
Perfect.
And we do handle the permits with the DEC. We will need to apply, as soon as I get your permission,
Yep.
we will immediately apply to the DEC for a permit to grow oysters in
Perfect.
that area.
Great.
Yeah, so
It's
that's
quick
done.
turnaround time for us.
Great,
Yep.
perfect,
Great.
okay,
Excellent.
Great.
that's easy.
Anne Marie, you want to give
Yeah.
Amanda your number so that she can contact you
Yeah.
about the contract? Thank
I'll
you.
write
Oh,
it
that
out
would be
for you.
perfect, thank you. Oh yeah, can you go to the next slide, please? So, I kind of went over this already, but our benefits is public education and awareness. That is our primary goal, but an amazing secondary goal is cleaning the water, recruitment of natural species to the area, and providing ecosystem services such as spawning grounds, not just for oysters, but for finfish. They come lay their eggs on there, and it provides a safe spot for them to grow. Improve water quality, and we just want to expand our network on Long Island for this type of restoration work. We really want to have a partnership with the town where we're doing this, coming up with more ideas for other restoration work we can do, is to make it a cleaner, healthier environment for everybody. Because Riverhead is, unfortunately to say, not the healthiest area in terms of water quality. So this could really, really help.
Great.
Go to the next slide, please. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yep, that's okay. And this is a picture of our oyster reef that is out in Huntington at Gold Star Beach right now. This has been built up for the past 3 years. And our reef is doing really, really well. It has natural recruitment on top of all of the spat that we have put on it. And it's doing amazing. We're seeing so much starfish, all types of finfish, mantis shrimp, which are really, really sensitive species. They can't live in polluted water. So it just goes to show that it really actually is helping.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
So
what stops a commercial oyster person from going through and with dredges and pulling these up? Are they marked? I mean, do the people know where they are so they won't accidentally
right.
dredge them up? Or?
So we're putting them in uncertified water only.
Oh, so they can't.
So
okay.
they can't
Yeah.
go fishing
Right,
there at
right.
all.
So if somebody comes up with those, or you see somebody with those, we know they were
Yeah, exactly.
poaching in uncertified waters.
Yeah, and
Okay.
they might get toxic shellfish syndrome
Yep.
if they try to eat them anyway. So that's on them. But anyway, one thing we were concerned about, I don't know how big of a problem it could be, but each of these crates, they're not cheap, and they do grow out to have, hundreds of oysters in each one. The only thing we are concerned about is possible theft of our crates along the docks. I would not put it past people to come up and try to steal an oyster crate. We were hoping to get it behind a locked gate, or I know that this is a public marina, so that might be kind of difficult in the sense, but I was just wondering if anybody had any ideas
Can you do
about
like
that.
a floating dock out there a little bit less likely?
We can do a floating dock. We wouldn't be able to set that up this summer, but we could for next summer and have our own what's called a flupsy system underneath
Right.
there.
We
There
are
are
putting
several
cameras.
flopsies down
We
there.
are
Yeah.
installing cameras there as well.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay,
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, we're looking at that.
gotcha. Okay, great. It's not, I would, rather put them out and have this program get going and see what happens and hope nothing happens like that.
I will
but-
say that place is pretty well manned down there over the
Yeah.
summer. A lot of people just hang out on their boats, and they kind of do a good job of policing that area down
Good. Okay,
themselves. So
that's good.
I wouldn't say it's a high-risk area for somebody to come take them.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
And wouldn't they get sick from the oysters anyway?
Yeah.
If they try
Then
to
we
eat
would
them,
know who
yes.
took it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is there a sign up or anything that lets people know that they are not for consumption?
We can put a sign up there.
Yeah, it's the same
Might be a
Absolutely.
good idea.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Like these are potentially poisonous if
Yeah.
you try to eat them. Yeah, absolutely. We can put a sign up and make sure that people know that this is for solely restoration purposes. And I feel like, 99 out of 100 people would leave that alone.
Right.
So,
Or leave them alone after the first time.
yeah, exactly. Learn their lesson.
Very good.
But yeah, that's
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. This
Yeah.
is very enlightening.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you all hearing me out, and hopefully we can get it going and up and running this summer. Have you all out there with hoses, spraying them down. Great.
Cornell does some amazing things. I mean, a whole gamut of things. We
Yeah.
talked about this before. And
Yeah,
it's amazing, all
Yeah.
the work they do and all the different areas they touch on. So
it's a lot.
we
It
thank
is.
you for that.
Oh,
and,
thank
this
you.
This is great. This is a home run.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank
Yep,
you.
you got it.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have matters surrounding proposed amphitheater designs with Dawn Thomas.
And we have
Is Dawn here? Is Dawn here?
our entire design team for the amphitheater design on Zoom.
Good, 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 good.
Been patiently.
Where's the rest of your team? They're not coming up? You know what?
What-
You don't need them?
I don't.
The camera
You
shot.
don't even need me.
Look, they're coming up. Wow, that's a huge group. It's a big group.
Not big.
Okay, Dawn, you want to start it off?
Sure. So, as you know, we have retained Skolnick Architecture to do our amphitheater design, and including that project has been funded by the design has been funded by the New York State Department of State through our BOA grant, and we did an RFP. We retained this firm, and included in the group is a market study to evaluate, to make sure that the amphitheater is right-sized for our community, considering all of the other surrounding communities. So Lee is the head of the firm. I know they wanted to keep you apprised of where their progress is, and so that's what they're here to do today.
Okay.
And respecting the board's time, Dawn, about how much time should we allow for this presentation?
How much time you need, David?
About 2 hours.
I think you're not really
Like,
limited. I think
Okay.
are there any appointments after us?
Yes,
Okay.
3 more.
Okay, so,
I think we can get through it in, 20 to 25 minutes, maybe.
perfect.
Yeah, I'd say a half hour at the most.
We'd like to start with HRNA.
Speak up a little
As you mentioned, Dawn, they've been doing a financial feasibility study related to the amphitheater. And I think, Armand, you're going to take it away.
Thank you, David. My name is Armand. I'm a director at HRN Advisors, and we are in charge of the market analysis and the financial feasibility aspects of the amphitheater. And Asta, could you go to the first slide? Yeah, so just to give you a sense of what we've done, we've conducted a detailed analysis of the market conditions and the venue benchmarks. And under market conditions, we looked at the demographic conditions in the region around Riverhead and the trends that might impact live entertainment preferences. And we looked at also the venue benchmarks to get a sense of characteristics around the expected audience, programming and ticketing, and also venue design, as well as the service area that visitation that other benchmarks in the region get. And both of these inform a demand analysis that we're currently conducting to assess the operational needs, excuse me, the revenue potential and the overall feasibility of the amphitheater, as well as governance options. And all of these three pieces together lead to a set of recommendations on venue design, programming, revenue and expenses, marketing needs, and governance roles and responsibilities. So as we do this analysis, now we're getting to the point where we will have conversations with the town, as well as the East End Arts, who's an important partner in this, to flesh out these final preferences and specifications and roles and responsibilities, because these conversations will impact different scenarios in which the amphitheater operations can take place. So with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague Asta, who will start with the venue benchmarks. We're going to skip the first section to save some time. But yeah, Asta, take it away, please.
Thank you. So for benchmarking, we looked at 3 distinct sets of comparison groups to inform different elements of our recommendations. So we looked at major entertainment venues in the New York metro region. These include like the Suffolk Theater, the Paramount Theater, Patchogue Theater. So we looked at the data for these to get an indicator of local audience preferences. We also looked at travel patterns to these venues, but we wanted to note that this venue is going to look different from a lot of these major venues. So we made sure to also look at the other local outdoor venues in Long Island. So other band shells, other amphitheaters. And this helped us inform us more on venue design, potential programming mixes. And then lastly, we looked at other attractions in the Long Island area, specifically around Riverhead, including the aquarium. This again to understand who might come to a venue like this. And these maps are illustrating these 3 groups. So these are some of the major entertainment venues, again, larger scale than what we're likely thinking here, but still illustrate the landscape. This here shows some of the major band shells and amphitheaters located in parks mainly around Suffolk and Nassau County. And then we looked at some of the larger attractions in the area.
May I jump in really quickly? So we're flashing all of these very quickly because of the time constraints, but we will send you the slides so you can take your time to look at these maps and the analysis that we've conducted.
Yeah, and please feel free to interrupt me if you want me to spend more time or have any questions. But moving into specific benchmarks, so to help us determine who might come to this venue, we took a look at the existing larger venues, and through a location-based data source, we were able to map the service area for these specific venues. So think of this as a heat map. This shows where people are coming from to go to these individual theaters. So this reinforces kind of our hypothesis that we're mainly going to be serving Suffolk County, potentially eastern parts of Nassau, but mainly, given people's existing habits, Suffolk County. This map here is another view of that location data. We will have mapped daily visits to these individual theaters to see if there were any patterns. You see Stoller Center for the Arts kind of as an outlier. That's because it's linked to Stony Brook University, so there's some school calendar influence there. But largely we saw a peak during the summer and a drop in the winter months. We also learned that the majority of visitation, for the most part, is from people within 10 miles of the venue. There is a good share of people outside of 10 miles, especially when you get further off into the Hamptons, like Stephen Talkhausen, the Watermill Center, and even the Suffolk Theater has a good share of people beyond 10 miles. So that's something we kept in mind. And then looking at the Riverhead Amphitheater, Riverhead Aquarium, which is very close to the site. We wanted to understand visitation here. We noticed that in 2023, there was a pretty big peak in the summer. But we also note that a lot of these visits are likely driven by school trips, etc. So here you can see a similar map that we did for the venues of where people are coming from. you can see that it's a lot more widespread. So this is probably due to school trips coming to the aquarium. Now moving into ticketing and kind of programming elements, we looked at 3 different factors here while looking at local programming. So we wanted to understand how different genres bring in different amounts of revenue. It's kind of notable that the cheaper type of acts are family entertainment and tribute acts versus jazz and comedy are generally more expensive. However, since our venue is likely to be smaller, we looked at specifically venues with capacity under 500 seats, and you can see the prices become a lot flatter for average ticket price, which I think is relevant for this venue. We're likely to achieve ticket prices around here versus that broad range that we were seeing earlier, just given the type of acts that might come here and the kind of people that are going to be attending. But we also wanted to note again that this is going to be an outdoor venue. It's going to be influenced by seasonality, so that we looked at the local band shells, and for the most part, local band shells are putting on free events. We noticed that a few band shells, like the Patchogue band shell at Shorefront Park, has the Great South Bay Music Festival once a year, which is a ticketed event. However, when we looked around Long Island, for the most part, there were free events. They could be local concerts, cover bands, movie nights, or cultural events. And the number of events does vary, likely based on the amount of capacity we have to program, but we don't see a lot of ticketed events happening at these type of venues. So then looking a little bit at design as well, these are again some of the band shells and amphitheaters that we looked at, and we noticed that the more amenities, including like back of house, parking availability, the more able to generate revenue the venue is. So going from the amphitheater in Hampton Bays to Patchogue, as you see, as you add more, Patchogue has a good amount of parking and a really big open lawn. They're able to host something like a music festival. The Harry Chapin Lakeside Theater has been able to do some really high caliber events, although they're free, but they do have that back of house available, which we think is critical. So then moving on to demand quickly. For our site, we're taking into account the audience of Riverhead, knowing that we want to make this a local venue, the site, and the nature of that, the outdoor nature, where it's going to be located, and then again, where we fit in terms of the market. Like we said, this is likely to be a seasonal venue operating, given the weather, we think maybe 16 to 22 weeks of usable time. And in terms of programming, again, this depends on how much effort we want to put into programming this. So either 1 event per week or up to 3, that's kind of the range we saw out in the market. Types of programming, we probably think it's going to be 40% summer series type, local bands, movie nights, 40%. We think that there's potential for permitting this out to the community. And then there's potential for a larger, maybe ticketed event. Where, there was a blues festival that used to be hosted in Riverhead, something like that. Being able to use the site for that, we think this could be a fit. Now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Carmen for just final recommendations.
Thank you, Artha. So if you can go to the next slide. So these recommendations are based on the market analysis, the demand analysis, and all the design things that we presented so far, and also the interviews that we conducted. So for the backstage, we would require at least 2 bathrooms and 1 to 2 showers and dressing rooms. So this is a minimum requirement, and if there's more space, we can also have some seating, bedding area, kitchen, and a practice area. For the loading setup, we will need 1 loading lane and with 20 feet truck allowance and 2 or 3 dollies to move the equipment. There can be additional loading docks and loading lanes, but they are not required as such. Only for big artists, this might be this can be a little bit problematic, but can be managed. In the front stage, so we need full-blown electrics with crossovers, offstage lighting guides to guide people in the dark, speaker layouts, and covered stage to protect the equipment from harsh weather such as rains or snow. There can be some other additions such as a flexible roof or screens and some premium seating options, especially for the ticketed events. But again, those are optional things here. Next slide. So Asa already talked about the events that we see are possible. So this is just a summary of that. So in terms of major events such as a national or regional artist performing a tribute brand, we can have about one or more per year. Then there can be seasonal festivals like the Blues Music Festival. There can be 4th of July Parade or the Lunar New Year Parade. And these can be about 2 to 3 per year. And then there can be local activities like a farmer's market, a wedding ceremony, or a high school convocation. And these, based on their intensity and the season, can be about 2 to 3 per month. Next slide. So this slide summarizes some of the revenue sources that are generally used for amphitheaters like this one and similar venues. So for more big artist events, they are more heavy on tickets, merchandise sales, and foods and beverages. And as we move towards the free events, there are more public funding sources, permits, and donations that come into play. So just presenting some revenue mix options based on what programming might be possible here at the amphitheater. Next slide. In terms of expenses, so there would be a full-time staff. So there will be, the amphitheater will need like a technical director, a sound technician, a lighting technician, and a managing crew of about 4 to 5. And these staff can be shared with the Eastern Arts District. And then for each event that is hosted, there can be some temporary staff such as box office staff, ushers, servers, and volunteers. Then in terms of operation and maintenance, the amphitheater will require some groundwork, cleanliness. So there will be some expenses around that. Marketing is usually the biggest section of the expenses, and based on how intensively we want to program the amphitheater, the marketing expense can go considerably high. So this will include advertisements, artist talent fee, and so on. And then there are other expenses, like if we want to serve food and beverage or gonna do some decorations and so on. So those all are the other expense categories. Next slide. So as I mentioned, that marketing is generally the biggest expense for most live entertainment venues. So this also varies by ticketed events or non-ticketed events. So for ticketed events, there has to be a lot of investment in searching the artist. The artist may also charge a talent fee there, and a lot has to be invested into the publicity of these events. But in terms of non-ticketed events, generally the venue can partner with some local or community organization who can take on most of the expenses, and they can also do the searching for artists. Talent fee is generally not a big thing for non-ticketed events, and the community or the other organization can also take on the publicity. So this is a way of letting go of some of these marketing expenses to the partnering organization. So this was our last slide. But we are happy to answer any questions if they're there.
Yep, thank you, Arman. Back to you, David.
All right, thank you. So at this point, Lee Skolnick will be sharing our presentation.
Great, thank you, everybody. So our job is kind of to pull all these different pieces together. A great deal of our work is directed by the findings of HRNA. We're also working with Indigo River to deal with flooding issues and water collection issues on the site. But in addition to that, we're looking at the various elements that are already planned for the site. By that I mean the town square, of course, East End Arts operations, the new playground that is anticipated to be developed, the public plaza, and how all these things fit together. Of course, we also have the hotel coming up and some housing coming up to the east of our site. So we're surrounded by a lot of different forces, and we're trying to take the amphitheater and knit together a lot of different elements so that to the general public and the visitor, it all feels like one consistent experience. So parking is sort of one issue. And you see our site highlighted there in red. And the next one is East End Arts. We're looking at helping them to configure their buildings in a way that is more conducive to their services. There is a lot of land available there, but we want to bring them up closer to the street and the sidewalk because some of these buildings are in danger of being flooded, and we want to consolidate them at an elevation where they're safe and the Eastern Arts can continue to operate effectively. This gives you a sense of the different elevations that we're talking about. On the right of each, you see the river and the depth, the estimated depth, but you also see the annual chance of flood, both a 10-year flood and a 100-year flood. And we need to bring the buildings, the enclosed buildings, up closer to the street and the sidewalk in order to avoid them being inundated. So this gives you a sense of the elements that I was just talking about. You see the future town square in the middle there, post hotel to the east.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Lee, can you possibly speak up? We can barely hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'll speak up. Is that better?
Yeah,
Yes.
It's as loud as it'll go on our end.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for letting me know. You see to the north the proposed Suffolk Theater development, and to the north of that, the anticipated parking structure. As I said, the LISC potential site, and then to our west, the proposed hotel, and to our east, the proposed Munchnick development. So all of these things are impacting our design and our layout. If you go to the next one, this was just some of the research we did on other band shells on waterfront amphitheaters. This one was pointed out to us by some of the East End Arts people as something that was perhaps akin to what they hope to see. And then I'm going to turn this over. We did a bunch of stakeholder engagement sessions. We're doing another one in a couple of weeks. And I'm going to turn it over to Christina, who with Joanne led those sessions.
Hi, everyone. I just want to make sure, can folks hear me okay?
Yeah, as loud as you can talk would be great.
As loud as I can talk. Okay, I'm going to shout it out. So as part of the project, as Lee said, back in April, we did engage with community members and you know, Don was great at organizing and helping us ensure that we had a nice diversity of people, including, you know, folks from businesses, East End Arts, Suffolk Theater, representatives from potential users such as the rec department, the IDA director, folks from the school district. So we had a nice mix of about 25 people. And in two different sessions, we sort of gave them background presentation and then asked them both to look at look and feel boards. So asked Daniela to just go through these a bit. These were asked for just public comments, so people could provide positive comment, negative comments. It was really to get a feel for what the community felt was the right design, what things were preferable, what did they like or not like, and then also really helped us understand how they envisioned the space being used during off hours, right? So, you know, HRNA has given us a great picture of what programmed events might look like, but we really wanted to also understand, well, what is the vision for this space when there's not a programmed event going on? So folks were given about 15 minutes to go around and using Post-it notes, make comments on all of these different images. We discussed some of the feedback, and then folks responded to a survey. And I would say the number one thing to take away from this, when asked, you know, what what do you want to see in this project in one word? The most common response was something dynamic, something vibrant, something active. And on the flip side, the number one concern that people expressed was that it feel kind of like a space where people might sleep overnight, or that there might be crime or loitering. And those two things are very closely intertwined. So we are looking at that closely as we move forward with the design. How can we encourage a lot of general usage as well as programmed usage? And then here you can see there are some really strong preferences in terms of overall design. So there's a lot of preference for things that have kind of a wood or a slatted appearance, and things that create sort of a portal going towards the river. And then if we go to the next page, I would say amongst the other images, even though they were not presented together, there was a clear direction from folks in the community to use this kind of combination of grass surfaces and then what we're calling hardscape. So that could be wood, that could be pavers, that could be concrete, but just creating kind of a nice mix of landscaped space and clear pathways and clear tiers that could be easily navigated both in terms of accessibility by folks who are using a walker or a wheelchair, or who just might need a stroller, so creating easier access to some of these spaces. And yeah, those were the big takeaways. So that has influenced our design quite strongly. And then we will represent with the public in about 2 weeks. So engaging again in community discussion and surveys.
Thank you, Christina. So I'd like to talk about what impacted the design, and we'll show you the design in just one moment. One of them was the idea of creating something that was part of the landscape. It was not a separate object that had to assert itself. The site is going to be quite dense with the hotel, the facility to the west of the town square, the playground, the housing complex. It did not seem appropriate to create something that was going to compete with those or create an even denser environment. So we started looking at something that would be light, a light touch on the landscape. We can go to the next one. So this gives you a sense. This is the site. You see in the background of our site, the reconfigured East End Arts buildings. And you see in the foreground, this new amphitheater. And we can go into the components that impacted us or motivated us. So here, one of them is, we wanted to create a sense of continuity, as I said, between the playground, the town square, the plaza, and now the amphitheater. In addition to the East End Arts Plaza, we wanted to make sure that it didn't seem like a whole bunch of unrelated elements. So we were taking clues from the playground and plaza, which is already under design, much more advanced by the landscape architects. And one of the things that they have included in their design or given character to their design is this idea of an undulating landscape, something that is has a very naturalistic feel to it. And so this box that you see, the dashed line, shows their area and now ours, which have a very similar kind of landscape vocabulary or language to them. So that was one consideration. And now zooming in on it, you see that there are, in plan, these sort of small hills, these small rising areas that flank the formal part of the amphitheater. So we have both formal seating, if you will, for about 200 to 300 people, and then additional seating available on these landscape elements to take it up to maybe 500 or so people. You keep going. Number of the considerations that we took into account were that our site is really a connection between the town, which is buildings and right angles and sort of geometric elements, And then the river, which is of course very fluid naturally and has a naturalistic feel. So we wanted our site to be a transition or connection between the town and nature. So there'd be a natural transition from hardscape and density to openness and fluidity. The next consideration was a very important one, obviously, which Indigo River will report on in a moment, and that is where will water likely accumulate in the case of a 10-year flood, a 100-year flood? How are we going to mitigate the impact of water inundation on our site? And what you see here in blue is where the water would be likely to come up during a flood event of the 10-year variety. We moved the buildings of East and Arts up to be safe even in the 100-year variety. But the amphitheater itself, water can collect in this, but it can also be drained away quite easily without compromising the amphitheater itself. Another consideration we thought was very important was when there are performances, we don't want to direct the sound to the new residential development to the north and east of us. So we located the stage in such a way that the sound would be naturally generated towards the west and north, where there's more public space and not residential space. The next one was providing an open view to the river. We created a band shell that at many different times was, as Christina mentioned, a portal, something that you could see through even when you're sitting in the amphitheater. So we wanted to get that naturalistic view. Another one was sun angles. We wanted to create stage and a seating area which would not be have people looking directly into the sun during, late in the day and the afternoon when there typically might be performances. So we aligned it in such a way that both the audience and the performers are pretty much protected from having direct sunlight in their eyes. And then finally, we wanted to create a space that was controllable. At times when you're doing ticketed events, how would we deploy what we're calling them barriers? They would really be fences that could be deployed to limit the number of access points so it could be well controlled, but still give a very good sense of most of the time as an open part of the park. As Christina said, even if you did the maximum number of events, you're still going to find that 90 to 95% of the time, this is just an open space available to the community. We wanted to make sure it felt that way so that it wouldn't have to be fenced in during those periods. You'll also notice at the upper right-hand corner of our map there, we were providing a comfort station with restrooms and some of the back of the house space that the HRNA report indicated was necessary, a kind of green room lounge for performers that was protected from the rest of the audience. So there was an easy way for them to get from the backstage over to the green room without crowding the amphitheater itself or the stage itself. So we have a small service module right next to the stage, but then we have a more substantial one a short walk away. The restrooms would be for the public. So the performers would enter that pavilion from the back, the public would enter it from the front, so they wouldn't be mixed. So this gives a sense of what we're thinking about. The whole idea is that the landscape would almost literally rise up to create the shelter for the stage. So the band shell, and this mimics a lot of the look and feel images that were seen as preferable by the audience, by the stakeholders who we met with. It would be a wood structure, although it would be reinforced above, and we're seeing it as something which is held up by this cable stay, which actually gives it a kind of nautical feeling as well. So we wanted to mix the landscape language and the sort of riverfront nautical language in the design. We would have a datum defined by suspended lighting grid and sound grid so that we could light this and provide amplification properly. And we could leave the back open to the view at times, but at other times deploy sliding or folding backdrop that could give closure at times when there wants to be a stage set or a background for the performances. So we have various views. This is a longer view from that sort of hilly area where the general public could sit. In addition to the fixed seating of the amphitheater itself, to the left in white, you just see the impact of the housing, which is quite dramatic. So we tried not to make something that was very dense next to it. And then I think we have another view. This is from the walkway that would be in the middle of the East End Arts buildings that you would enter from the street, and in the distance you would see the bandshell rising up near the river. A longer view looking back at East End Arts and Main Street in the distance. And then back to the overview, the bird's eye view. And you can see in the foreground now, you understand that green swath that is held up by the cable stay is actually the top, the roof of the bandshell itself. So that's where we are at this point. We've tried to integrate a lot of data, a lot of feedback, a lot of parameters that we've been given. And this is pretty much what we want to present in the next stakeholder engagement and get people's opinion about it, any suggestions that they might have, as well as any concerns that they might have, so that we can finally synthesize this into our final report. So I know there's a lot of information we've thrown at you right now. If you do have questions or comments, we're happy to address them now, but we can also collect them in the next week or so and address any issues that you might have.
And I should also add, sorry, so Indigo River has been working with us to understand flood mitigation strategies from the beginning. They've helped us identify a lot of the elevations that we're looking at. As you can see, we have sort of prepared a very sort of detailed kind of site elevation analysis with our various grade changes and the height of the stage and the height of the seating. If Alix, you could present what, some of your more recent studies that you've done responding to our design, I think that would be helpful for the board to understand how this will work at a waterfront site.
Absolutely. Give me just 1 second to set up.
Can we get a copy of that,
The slide deck?
the presentation?
Sure.
Okay, great. I just would like to know the maximum capacity, people. They mentioned 500, is that it?
I think it was 3 + 2, if I heard them right.
And then maybe a little more than that, maybe, but not a lot.
Yeah, I don't know
Up on
about
the
all
hills,
those
I think he
trees
said
and
up to
those
5.
raised things
Well,
that
that's the
knocks
idea.
out on like another 500 people.
I think that's the idea, to like raise people up so you can see.
Can we just put up the initial proposal slides of where you showed different types of band shells or theaters?
And they were numbered like 1 through whatever?
Sure. We'll come back to this.
Stop.
Yeah, right there. Number 4, I like because I think it mimics the Suffolk Theater, that Art Deco kind of design shape. And number 5, I think would fit in a little bit more, like maybe nautically with the river. I like both of those designs.
Yeah, I can almost see like on 5, even if the back poles were more like ship masts,
Yeah.
that were going up or something. I just think that it's too modern for my taste up there, and I think it definitely needs to be more nautical, more Riverhead style culture. Supervisor brings a great point. 4 is more like the similar of the Suffolk Theater, the shape,
Yeah.
design of it. I just think we're kind of losing that. Your design, it just, the grass approach going up, I don't know how you secure off the edges and how you don't prevent people from gathering on it, or just, I don't know. I was looking for something more, me personally, along a nautical theme, and I just don't think it's got it. The whole site plan, it works well. I just think it's the actual, we'll call it the band shell design.
Right.
Right.
That's just me.
Me too. I mean,
Me
it's,
too.
beauty's in the eye of the beholder sometimes, and
Yeah.
I don't have the greatest taste in the world, so I'm not gonna
I like the
tell you
idea
what
of
it should
four.
be, but
I like the idea what you said, Supervisor, four mimics,
it does.
the
It's
Suffolk
like
Theater.
faces back up towards the theater to a
it
degree.
is
and
Art Deco.
if you look at the front of the theater outside, up above the marquee, it's very similar inside also.
And the town does have a lot of historic flair to it, so you don't want to mix, I mean, something very contemporary and modern necessarily with a historic town.
Right.
And a theater that's historic.
Sometimes though,
Sometimes the juxtaposition of the two works
Yeah,
very
I
well
know.
together.
emphasizes
I'm
that.
I just not impressed with that.
I personally really like it, but I'm not the deciding person.
I have a concern about the angle. I mean, they talk about charging, right? And you've got an audience of 500 people, and that stage is on an angle. The people in the plaza are basically getting it for free, right? So I don't know how you mitigate that. You know, the angle of the stage. I also think they're wasting a ton of property. You know, to me, you could probably get 1,000 people in there if you got rid of the trees and everything else. And I don't know how East End Arts feels like in terms of they wanted to ever do any shows outside with having all these undulations
Well,
on the
they've
property.
been participating in this discussion also, and I think the market study really is what's gonna drive the size, because you have to make sure that you could build it for 1,000 people, but if you don't have 1,000 people all the time, then you have a lot of wasted space, and this is such precious public space. I think it's important to make sure that, and that was the whole intention of that market study, which is sort of dictating what we can expect based on the, you know, the local market.
If you build it for 1,000 and only 200 show up, it's gonna get a reputation of being, nobody goes there, it's, unused. I don't want it bigger than it needs. I'd rather have a problem of shutting it down and saying, okay, we're sold out for this event, than having something that's too large and not enough people there to make it look like it's filled and being used.
We have to plan for its active and its passive use, so it's
Right.
gotta kind of fit into the whole park setting.
I get it.
We're
I get
not
it. You
using
guys
it
are
for an
happy.
amphitheater.
Great.
How do you keep it contained?
Well, I think that's what I think they were going to that drawing, so Lee, I don't know if you could cut back to the access point
Yeah, with the fencing.
drawing, or maybe there's a different way to show it where you can see where you can lock it off and make a ticketed event.
Yeah, fence.
Yes. That was the idea, but one of the
I think
reasons
the
for
site
the
plan, the
angle.
grounds, the planting, I think that adds that, like, when people just could stroll through the area, and generally, I can see when there's nothing going on, just to gather down there and sit and have lunch or ice cream or
Well,
something,
even
utilize it. but-
rec programs like yoga, there was the grass area allows for that kind of use, and movie night and things like that. So it's not going to always be a performance. It may be an activity rather than that. So, I think it works for those things, and that was sort of the public consensus. We are having another public engagement session, like June 12th, right, Dave?
You said
Yes.
2 weeks.
Yeah, so June 12th, and this.
For the June 12th, can we present multiple just band
Yeah.
shell options or other
So
designs?
the first public engagement we did was stakeholders. It was smaller people that might use it, East End Arts, the schools, music venue type event, and then the bid. So, because they're engaged in those events regularly, so, and as David mentioned, there was a good turnout of that group. The next will be more of a public engagement where we would advertise it generally. And so I can make a pitch for it now. It'll be June 12th. I think we said 6 o'clock. It'll be here in this room. And so we'll be making sure that we publicize that so we get a lot of participation. But, that band shell itself is up to you how you want to do it. And maybe there'll be different input at that session. And, for sure, that's
No speed of
It's
frame
always,
of the.
that's why we're having this meeting
Right,
today,
right.
to gauge the board's
Understood.
response to where we're at.
So on the elevation, is it gonna go up in the back? Is it gonna be level with the front?
I'll
From Main
let-
Street? There was talk about filling it in, raising the elevation.
So I think Lee can
what
handle
the
that question,
government
but
was gonna get into, I think, yeah.
the Main Street elevation is, the buildings at Eastern Arts would have to be raised to that Main Street elevation, and the natural grade to the river
okay, then
would
it's gonna
create
go
that
down.
rake in the, and I'll let Lee handle that, cause he's the designer.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're starting.
Oh, you gotta speak up a little bit.
Oh, sorry, my mic must not be good or something. The elevation over at the street is about 13 and a half.
It's
But
not,
they're in the drawing.
Still
No,
cannot
no,
hear you,
I
Lee,
can't
for
hear
some
you.
reason. Maybe get closer to your laptop.
Yeah, maybe David, you should speak if they can't hear me, because I'm shouting.
No, I can just maybe move a little closer, just lean a little closer
That's why I
to
wanna
the.
see it visually. If it-
Can you hear me now?
it's fine, I don't
A little
know.
bit better, yeah.
Well,
That's
I'll shout. 13 or 13 and a half feet is what we need to establish at Main Street.
Main Street,
There's
yeah.
that level, and then there's +7, which is the flood elevation for a 10-year flood. And then we've got, +9, I guess, in between. So, this will be terraced, if you will, graded and terraced to mitigate inundation beyond the amphitheater itself.
And I don't know if it was clear, but the one slide you had with the water, the flood water, you can see that this is designed, that section in front of the seating is designed to accept water
Yeah, so-
in certain instances without compromising the ability to use the facility. So rather than, and I know Indigo River still has to talk, but I know the objective was to sort of use the water as an asset rather than an enemy, so.
Right.
So just in terms of our presentation on June 12th,
Yes.
I mean, is there anybody on board for the current design of the band shell? Like,
I would like to
just-
see, I mean, I don't think it protects the band in bad weather.
That's what I think
You know,
too.
that's my problem with it, and, you know, but if the lighting's gonna be permanent, you know, how do you protect that? But I'd rather look at the presentation and maybe just send my comments to them,
Yeah.
otherwise we could just.
So let's
beat it to
let's
death.
keep going then. We can that's just a.
Yeah, I'd like to see more options
could
on
be
a
anything.
band shell.
It's the focal point of the whole
Yeah.
thing.
No, no question, that's what I'm
Easy to-
saying, it's
easy to
easy to
address that.
change. It's
I know,
easy
but I
to
think that we're paying for designs that we should consider in part of the whole
100%.
process while we have them,
That's
is
why
just
we're
to
having
see
the
a couple
conversation.
of different proposals.
Yep.
You know,
I agree.
Councilman,
And I think-
Councilwoman Waski's very quiet on the end of it, so I think it-
She's talking to Evan, the study guy.
Oh, these comments are great. They're very appreciated. And just lastly, I think Alix, if you can maybe just jump to the renders where you've noted it, and you can talk through some of the mitigation strategies that are part of this design, which have informed our design.
Yeah, that sounds good. So yes, just briefly, my name's Alix. I'm with Indigo River, and as David and Lee
A
mentioned,
little
we
bit
did-
louder if you can, sorry.
Okay. We've been assessing the design for resiliency, and just making various recommendations for floodproofing as the design has evolved. So as David mentioned, I'll just skip ahead to the renderings. Obviously, some of the site design, as was mentioned before, already accounts for a good amount of the flooding resiliency. So having the bottom plane exist at 7 feet of elevation is already an important tactic to just welcome the water in and then to let it drain out again. And the stage is at +9, which is what we recommend for the design flood elevation. And then everything else is above that. So in theory, most of those areas would just never get flooded, and the floodwaters would really only go in this area in the middle, the area that you're seeing that's grassed. So if the basin is grassed or landscaped, we strongly recommend under drains or drains through the stage to evacuate water quickly and just prevent pools from forming in the soil.
Alternatively, if the basin is a hard surface, we recommend grading it to just facilitate water drainage back out to the river at a minimum of 2% for the slope, depending on the design and the material. Obviously, provisions. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
A little bit louder would be great. Sorry.
I don't know if I have the. I'll try. So provisions do need to be taken to ensure that the seating around the stage is somewhat porous and helps the water drain down to the lowest level, then back out to the river. This means using something like permeable pavers.
Get in front of the
or
microphone a little bit better, just a little closer.
We have our volume all the way up here, I
Our
think.
volume's all the way up.
I'm sorry, I'm yelling.
Yeah.
Try if I can get closer.
Something with our system, maybe?
It might be
Maybe
us.
we should just listen to it through the TV instead of these speakers. Because when we do Zoom committee meetings, you can hear people.
It looks like a rack of Brachiosaurus ribs that Fred Flintstone threw on his car in the opening scene of his cartoon.
I think it's interesting, that, you know, to Ken's point, how are you gonna stop people from climbing up there and falling off?
Should I keep going, or do we want to pause and adjust the sound system if possible?
Chip, we've got our volume all the way up here. When you first come on, you're very loud, and then you fade right out.
Yeah.
Ask him, can you just ask him if we should just use the speaker on the TV rather than these overheads?
Well, let me hear it. Let me hear it.
The speakers on flat screens are usually horrible.
I know, but you know what, we use them during committee meetings and they're not all echoey and stuff. Chip, can we just use this?
That monolith. I
Yeah,
know
the
what that
speaker
is.
on the
That's
TV,
the
because the
staging
overheads,
there.
you know, I don't know what's going on.
Right, but I just think it's so right in the way.
Might be the
No,
angle.
I
It
understand.
just might be the angle of the rendering to.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know. It's like.
Can you speak a little bit so we can test out our sound?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's,
Okay, amazing. So I'll just keep going around these recommendations clockwise. So bottom right. So we also recommend ensuring that for all built structures, the footing and foundations are designed to resist uplift and just saturated soil conditions. When there's a flooding event, the soil will just get completely saturated. So we need to ensure that the structures are able to withstand softer soils. And then inside the green room or any enclosed space, we recommend elevating any MEP or utilities in case any water does get inside. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, it's important that the stage remains at or above 9 feet of elevation to ensure that the green room and any other material at that elevation is above the flood line. Just skip ahead to the next slide. So again, here starting at top and going clockwise, for the secondary bathroom or green room higher up on the site, in all likelihood, nothing is needed because it's at 13 feet of elevation, so well above flooding levels. But to be sure, we recommend again elevation of any MEP equipment, potentially using a waterproof seal on the outside and optionally deployable barriers for any openings, so doors and windows. These deployables can be used around the green room, down on the main stage as well, along with a floodgate, which is optional. Those tend to be a little pricey. And then again, all of these structures may need foundations and footings to be uplift resistant and just able to work with saturated soils. Any area that will likely be flooded will need to be graded to 2%. And then just wrapping around to the left on this image, particular attention will need to be given to any vertical surface that receives flood loads and may be subject to erosion. So that front retaining wall, along with the closest sloped mound behind it, that's currently shown as stepped. So that means deploying materials like geotextile grids, ensuring a slope stability analysis is conducted, and then either revetments, riprap, or retaining walls for the base. Also, just to note that if there are any plantings on these slopes, these can help with soil stability, but their point load, their weight will need to be accounted for. So any large tree may cause some of the soil to just get pushed down on a little bit. So that's an overall of our overall view of our recommendations. I can go into particular materials or strategies if needed, or I can skip ahead to the ROM that we pulled together.
Yeah, I think let's take a quick look at the ROM. This is really early rough order of magnitude costs, which Indigo River, because of their engineering background, has been able to kind of make some broad assumptions on what some of these quantities and unit prices might be. Again, it's early days, but this is the kind of thing that I think will help inform the design and moving forward at the next phase of design after we complete our deliverables.
And I want to point out just a couple of things. So with the current design, what really stands out is the cost of the retaining structures at $1,500 per linear foot for an estimated total of $600K. So this assumes that footings, foundations will resist floodloads and uplifts, as I mentioned earlier, and be designed for saturated soil. So that could change following the results of a stability analysis, and also based on changes in the design.
And change in the decreased cost range, right?
Yes.
Right. This is a very conservative estimate right now at $1,500 is a linear foot.
We're also showing for number 6, the pavers, for example, we're showing the higher cost option. So there's potential for savings there if we instead select cast in place concrete or asphalt paving or something else.
Okay, and in this cost, I'm not seeing, and I can't see it that well because I don't have my glasses with me, but the cost of relocating those buildings is not in here.
Not currently.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can we get an ROM for that too?
Sure, I think we can. Yeah.
Because that would help us understand the complete expense needed to do the project.
And these are all construction costs. They don't include soft costs. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, Lee, I couldn't hear you.
I said, I'm just asking, do these include soft costs or are they only hard costs?
I think whatever it's going to cost is what we need to know total. So whatever you can, soft and hard, yeah.
Okay.
These are hard costs, and we include contingencies for subtotal direct construction costs and, design contingencies and construction contingencies.
Perfect.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Christina, do you want to, if you're on still, can you comment or quickly on kind of the intent of June 12th? And I will just say too that, you know, we are preparing, as you know, what our role here is to sort of prepare the information to sort of take this project to the next phase, to schematic design. This is concept design, and it's about kind of putting together an RFP to assemble the team that's going to move forward. So we do anticipate getting additional feedback, and we appreciate the feedback we got today. And that feedback will all, you know, inform, again, the next phase of design. And Christina, do you want to say anything more about June 12th? And
I think the only thing that I would add is because it's a public session, we had intentionally sort of directed it to be more conversational and less of a, you know, the last stakeholder engagement session was very creative. It was very, you know, people up and walking around the room and commenting on lots of different things. And it was very sort of, I'm going to say it was in the style of brainstorming, because this will be a public session and we just don't have the, and I think do not want to send the public into several different concepts. The intent for this is really to be more consensus building, so it's more conversational, and the intent is really that we fully expect that people will have many different opinions about what the band shell should look and feel like. The intent is really to try and bring those people together into one vision. So that's the way that the conversational questions and structure has been written. And that is really to help the town of Riverhead have a clear vision about how to proceed.
So at the session, can we do some additional options on the band shell structure? So the board and the public can kind of like weigh in on that? Because we're definitely getting a sense that the contemporary design's not fitting with their vision. So I think that would be a good, helpful thing, just a couple of options, concept options, and then drill it down from there.
Well, we can certainly do that. I mean, there's no problem doing that. I guess my question will be at some point, what if the popular feedback we're getting does not jive with the feedback that we're getting today? I mean, how do we navigate that?
I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I think just in terms of the site layout, I think you have a pretty good consensus on the board that that's great, and the thought process going into that. I didn't say 100% consensus, I said pretty good consensus.
I'm concerned about maintenance. It looks like it's high maintenance.
Okay, well, these are things, you know, we gotta figure out, gotta just keep moving in a direction, but for sure, the band shell itself looks like it needs a little work, so maybe some just ideas on some similar sized, you know, and obviously the stage height and the amenities are good, but the actual just structure, maybe some ideas on that, and then we'll see what happens.
I'd like to see something a little bit more historic. This is historic downtown Riverhead.
That could be a stage. I'm concerned, I have Ken's concern about kids climbing up there. What happens when they get to the end? They fall off.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, this is why we're having the conversation. This is exactly
It's not
why
that
we're
I'm
having the
opposed,
conversation.
you know, I appreciate the stage, but.
If you don't see something, you don't know if you like it or
No,
you
I
don't
agree,
like it.
but I am concerned about the amount of maintenance that's gonna require.
Well, that's a
with all these-
different issue, because unless you're gonna build the entire thing out of concrete, which I don't think
No.
anybody wants,
It's-
maintenance is always an issue, that's definitely something
But
we've
I'm
been
talking
thinking
about, you know, all the hills and all that kind of stuff, you know, that's where I'm going.
Okay,
It's easier for B&G just to go straight down.
so I think that's good, Christina, what do you think?
Now, this is all very helpful.
I'd like to look at the.
I'm certainly not suggesting that we're not listening. We are listening very closely.
Great,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank
folks.
you, Don. Thank you.
Very exciting and super helpful, and thank you so much, because this is exactly what we need to make sure it works.
Yes.
All right.
We have more.
All right, we're good.
3 more.
Oh, we got a lot more, my friend.
All right, we're gonna sign off, and then I'll follow up with you guys later.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Learning is keep
Bye.
today.
Good, get over time today.
Okay, next up, moving on, we have matters surrounding possible conversion of LED lights at
Recording in
Town Hall.
progress.
Thank you, folks. We'll be back.
Yeah, we'll be back for Reza.
Well, Greg is gonna be back.
We've been told to keep this to 5 minutes.
I was thinking 3.5, but
My book.
How did you get the extra 2 minutes?
Extra 2 minutes.
Where's Billy? Oh, Billy's up there.
Yeah, you guys can come up if you want, you can stay there, it's entirely up to you. Town electricians, Billy Merker and Mike Cummins.
Come on, Mike, don't.
Who have performed all of the conversions in the town buildings to date, saving us a lot of money. So the subject is converting this building to LED lights like we have done to all the other buildings in town. It's kind of a no-brainer. PSE&G still has a rebate program in effect.
Good.
Their rebate is down a little bit from what it has been in the past. It fluctuates depending on how much money they have each year. So they're down a little bit to like 50% of the total cost. However, that's labor and material.
Right.
And if we do it ourselves, of course, we don't have the labor costs. So I've run some numbers. Let me just give you this real quick. Let me just give you this film. It's just easy to follow my numbers.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll try to keep it quick.
Thank you.
Okay. So basically, we made application already. Billy and Mike have gone around and inventoried all the lights in this building. There are 736 fixtures of 4 different designs. We've submitted those on an application to PSE&G to determine what the rebate would be. Their system looks at what the energy consumption is on the existing lights based on published information, and then they look at the fixtures that we're proposing to put in, and they do their math and figure out how much we'll save, and they give us a proportion of that back. So the total cost, I'll start with the total cost. The total cost to us for replacing it material only, all 736 fixtures would be $51,354. And again, that's material only. Now, PSE&G's application allows for labor, and they have a designated amount of labor that they allow because they realize people will, you know, go to the sky with it. That equates to about $103,000 for labor based on their calculations. We would probably be a little higher because we have to pay prevailing wage rate. Fortunately, we have competent electricians in-house, and they have done it in the past, and they're willing to do it again if time allows. The rebate application came back with an annual rebate to us, a one-time rebate to us of $27,514. That's the basic rebate. However, they have an incentive going on that if we finish all the installations by November 1st, we get an additional 25%. So that's another $68.79. Okay. And we also are in a disadvantaged community, which makes us eligible for another 25%. So assuming we get it all done by November 1st, we would get back a check for $41,272. I just want to add that the November 1st deadline, if we don't meet that on a portion of the lights, we will get the rebate for the portion we complete, and we will get a rebate for the portion we didn't complete without the 25% off. So the incentive is $9.35 per fixture. So if we don't get 100 done by November 1st, we forfeit about 900 and, you know, so many dollars. We'll still get the basic rebate.
You didn't have any summer vacations planned or anything, right?
No.
So this won't be a problem. Mike can still go away. He's got Billy here.
You're not doing a live on 25 or any of those events, right?
Okay, so the total rebate, if we get it done by November 1st, would be $41,272. The annual savings that we'll realize based on the same calculations based on, you know, the existing fixtures versus the new fixtures would be about 125,000 kilowatts, which averages out to about $26,000. That's not as high as we've seen on all the other buildings. In the first look at this building, we said, you know, considering how much we saved at the police station and town hall, we thought it would be a lot more. The difference is that this is a more modern building. And these fixtures that are up here right now are much more efficient than the ones that were in the police station, the 1980s vintage light fixtures. So they look at the actual fixture. So the delta is a little smaller, but it's still a significant amount of money.
It still pays for itself relatively quick.
Yeah, the annual savings of $27,000, you know, $26,000. That's only going to go up as the cost of electricity goes up. So the issue becomes assuming we can start June 1st, which is a little aggressive, but, you know, I just threw a date at it. Between now and November 1st, with holidays, there's 117 working days. Assuming these guys work full-time on this, that would mean that they would have to complete about 6 or 7 fixtures a day. Realizing what reality is, they're probably going to get pulled away from emergencies. So I said, well, if we pulled them away for 30 days and they only had 87 days to work on it, that would be about 8.5 fixtures per day. So obviously that's going to be a little tight. So the issue is going to become, and I think Bill might take over for me, you know, whether we can justify some overtime. Some of the areas can be done during the day without interrupting people, like this room when it's not in service, or the corridors, a lot of the open spaces. However, working in the supervisor's office and in some of the other offices, it's going to be difficult climbing over people's desks. It's going to be a little disruptive. So given the tight time frame and given those working conditions, overtime may come into play.
We have a lot of conference rooms and stuff. We can move around.
We can get a lot done.
Access to all the offices, I would think, right? For the most part.
Yeah, the offices are gonna be where you're gonna hit the overtime, which is what it is.
So the net cost to the town, if the job was complete without overtime by November 1st, would be $10,000. And that would give us a $26,000 a year saving going forward. if either overtime was used and/or we didn't meet all of them by November 1st, which is however $90 a light or whatever it may be, then that savings the cost to the town could go up as much as $17,000. But you're still saving 26 after the last light is installed.
Right.
So either way, it's not costing the town the 51,000. There's a net
No,
number. and we
understood,
start
but it's
saving
much
as
better
soon as
if we
done.
could get it done by November 1st. So,
Did you get an idea of what, if you did the offices, what the overtime might be? If you do, so in other words, did you count the lights in the offices, right? So if you're doing not, did you get an idea of what the overtime hours might be?
In reality, what do you, I
What
mean,
do
you've
you-
done
what
a
do you
lot of
think,
town
Billy?
buildings. I mean, what do you, just so financially we can get out, I mean, you're talking, there's how many how many weekends?
Well, like Tim's office
22
has 12,
weeks.
12 lights, so that could probably take us, what, 2 hours, 3 hours to do?
So you're thinking that, again, a lot of it's gonna have to do with what comes up between
What
now
comes
and
up
then.
in
We
between.
get a hurricane in September,
Yeah.
we're in trouble.
The faster we get the lights,
Right.
the easier it's gonna be for me. If you
are
get the
they
light-
easy to get?
That I,
Or is
we'd
there
have to
a
check.
downtime?
They're on a town bid, we already bid them out, and you're awarding that at the next town board meeting. The availability could be a couple of weeks, I mean, I don't need them all right up front, we'll
Right.
just get as many as they have in stock. So
Get
I'd like to
started
think
on
we'll
it.
get, if I can get them, 40 or 50.
Do you get these locally?
Yeah, but they're gonna be coming from Swing Electric.
Okay.
Yeah, they put the bid in for
You
it.
know, the faster we get the lights, the faster we can move on. I mean, if you
Right.
get the lights towards the end of July,
Right.
now you're talking,
And again,
toughness.
the worst case scenario is if we miss November 1st on some of them, it's that $9.35 a fixture. You're still gonna get a rebate,
Right.
but you're just not gonna get the incentive.
And then if you outsource it and you have somebody come in, they're gonna get prevailing wage.
Yeah.
And that could be,
Drives it to the roof.
yeah, that could be $100 an
Yeah,
hour
we don't want it.
per man.
On all of the other town buildings, we were making a little money
We're
because
making money
they
because
were,
it's
they were giving us back for the labor. They'll pay us for our own labor. However, now it's only a 50% rebate. The last time it was 100% rebate, so.
Plus, we get more
getting that
points
money.
for
We get carbon. We
Carbon
get carbon reduction points.
reduction points,
We
yes,
definitely do, yep.
which is
It's in the
important too.
program.
Bill, what's the electric bill in this building a year?
I'm not sure. We haven't been through a full year to know what it is, and I don't have the records from last year.
So I guess the issue would be where would the funds, or the first thing I would need to do is get a purchase order for some of the lights to go forward to get going. So we'd need to figure out where that money's gonna come from. And then the other issue is, just, I guess we could take the overtime issue on as we go along basis. If things come up and they start, we see them falling behind the November 1st, because I know how many we should be getting done if it's 8 a day and we're falling behind.
Well,
because
it's clear that
they're
they're
gonna
gonna
be in
have.
Grangeville Park for a
Yeah,
while
I
too.
mean, it's clear they're gonna have to do offices on overtime, right? You can't jump it around. I mean, there are some offices, like, you might be able to get in where they have a hallway and do a couple, but not inside the offices.
Well, if the council people, when you guys are out, you
Right.
can get into that office and do it.
Exactly,
You know, the supervisor's office might be a little harder because he's here all the time.
But I can move out
I mean,
to
he can move out, so.
either the front area or to the conference room, so that's never an issue.
This
for
place
me.
is for us to go.
The other
Yeah,
thing I
Going work session.
The other thing I should add too is that this is based on every fixture in the building being replaced, 736 fixtures. There may be places where, like in the basement, when the fellow from PSC&G walked around with Billy and looked around and said, you may not, because the one room was the School of Radiology, so it's got like 20 fixtures in it. You may not need that right
We
now.
not need-
So if we end up taking 20, 30, 40, 50 fixtures out and find that that's workable, we will get significantly more back. They'll give you additional rebate for each fixture coming out.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, a lot of money too, because you're eliminating a fixture.
Yeah, we have some of the hall lights, right, that people leave on all night. It's like, do we need all those hall lights?
Well, those hall lights that are on are emergency lighting.
Emergency, yeah,
We
this
need
came to
emergency
me.
lighting in this building. too.
Motion sensors also, if we find places where we can put motion sensors, where if you walk into a room, the lights come on, there's additional money, it's like $100 each. And we'll get, but we figured, we didn't put that in the application, that can always be added later on, we're very flexible. But, rather than decide where to put them now, we figured, let's take the basic, get approved, which we already are, they've already done their preliminary walkthrough and their preliminary inspection. And I'm hoping that they'll work with us on perhaps rebating us floor by floor. And I think they'll do that. So if we get the third floor done, they'll come in, do their inspections, and make sure we really did what we said we did, and they'll give us a check. So rather than wait till the end of the job to get the whole check, they seem flexible on maybe working with us, Bill. So, you know, where you get the money from, we can pay it back.
That's great.
Excellent.
Okay. To the curb, fellas, to the
Wait,
curb.
before Billy leaves.
I told you.
No, I need to. I do need to publicly thank, we've been doing the Hometown Hero banners, and we keep asking him, and you're taking all different types of hours, running out during the day, adding additional brackets so we can get these banners up. And you did a tremendous amount of work, and we breaking up your days continuously in the rain, trying to get these brackets up there, so I thank you very much. That was really important, and we got a lot of the Hometown Hero banners up this year, and it's a project that keeps expanding, and it's adding workload to you, but it's greatly appreciated, so thank you very much.
Thank you, thank me and my
Thank
team.
you,
They
Billy.
look awesome up everywhere, so thank you.
You guys do a great job.
You really
definitely
do.
We call you on a moment's notice, and you're right there, and you take care of everything, so.
And Bill, you got the combination of M&T Bank, so you just go over there.
Yes.
Get some fun stuff.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have matters surrounding possible code revision to Chapter 30, parking schedule, Merrifield, Kern, Thomas, Downs, and Bergman.
Victoria.
I'll be the stand-in Rich Downs today.
There you go.
We're easily mistaken for each other, so.
Oh, it's so close.
All right. Thank you for the time, so I will sort of get right to the point with this. I will try to be quick and brief. What we're proposing, and I've discussed this with council members Merrifield and Kern, is a proposed amendment to the town's parking schedule in Chapter 301, Attachment 1. The proposed change would be regarding parking required for one-family and two-family dwellings. Right now, the code requires one parking stall per dwelling. So in theory, for a single-family residence, irregardless of size, number of bedrooms, it requires one parking stall. What we're proposing is 2 per dwelling unit plus 1 parking stall per bedroom in excess of 3. So in other words, you need 2 parking stalls for the dwelling itself, and then you start counting at bedroom number 4. So if you had a 5-bedroom house, for example, you need 2, and then you start counting at bedroom 4 and 5, you would need 4 parking stalls.
And Greg, this is new builds, right?
So this would be for new builds, irregardless of zoning district. It would be for new builds for 1 or 2 family dwellings, or in the case where an applicant comes in and requires a building permit. Currently, our Town Code Chapter 217 requires copies of plans and specifications that comply with Chapter 301. So if someone were to come in for an addition or a renovation of their house and they were going to add bedrooms, they would need to demonstrate the ability to park. Now this morning I was speaking with Matt. Amending this code would require an amendment, which is sort of, it's adjacent to the code. It's in Chapter 301, 231 regarding off-street parking. Right now, that section of code just says that a driveway for a 1-family or 2-family dwelling may be counted as 1 parking space. Obviously, if you have a driveway that's wide enough and long enough to facilitate, I would recommend an 8-foot by 18 stall. So in other words, we're not looking to create parking lots with drive aisles, but if you had a 16-foot wide driveway, 36-foot long, you could demonstrate the ability to park 4 cars. So what this will do is really, in the downtown area where we've got smaller lots, where a lot of the streets are very narrow, there is currently parking restrictions on a lot of the streets downtown because they're very narrow. This would sort of alleviate some of the on-street parking demands that we're seeing. And it's sort of consistent. So right now our town code in 105 for accessory apartments, for example, it currently requires 2 parking stalls for an accessory apartment. Now, we will acknowledge that the comp plan recommends reducing that for the accessory apartment, but even just logically, to have the single-family dwelling require 1 parking stall, but then our code currently require 2 parking stalls for a small accessory apartment, this doesn't really jive. So there are a couple of amendments, like I said, 301 Attachment 1, and the necessary changes to sort of reference back to that in 301 231.
So is this gonna be calculated on all new apartment complexes or dwellings or anything downtown Main Street?
This is just for one family and
Residential.
2-family dwellings, correct.
Dwellings.
Does this supersede the covenants that were placed on subdivisions in the past because a lot of the covenants for major subdivisions that were done in the late 80s and 90s, most of them say that there should only be 2 vehicles in a driveway.
I mean, I'll speak with Anne Marie on that. I mean, that's sort of a question where to restrict the number of vehicles. I mean, I don't know what the intent was back in, the 80s or 90s, but, if you have a family with several children, to say you can only have 2 vehicles to me seems a little.
I have 5 kids. My wife and I, that's 7 cars in my yard.
Well, so the 5 kids should just walk, so they shouldn't have vehicles. But I mean, I can look at that to see if there would be any
I was
issue
just
with
wondering,
conflicts with covenants.
That's my wheelhouse, so
Yeah.
I know those things.
The idea is with regard to the new comp plan, that they want more walkability or more ability for bikes to be able to travel through neighborhoods. And this helps that with new builds.
Correct.
New builds and any additions on homes, dwellings.
Trying to get them off the street.
Correct. They just, there could be a situation where someone builds a 2-family dwelling with a significant number of bedrooms, and they only have to provide, by the current code, 2 parking stalls, where we know there's going to be many more than 2 vehicles that are going to be, generated by that development.
And this would have to be parked in the driveway portion, obviously not on the grass.
Not on grass.
the-
It would have to be improved.
Right.
The cost when you're talking about new construction, if you're building a new residence, the cost to construct a driveway is not a significant hurdle. I mean, I just did a little bit of research. The cost to pave a driveway can range from $3 a square foot to $15 a square foot, depending on the method that you use. So, I mean, if you land somewhere in the middle for, figure $8 a square foot, the 8x18 parking stall is 144 square feet. So, I mean, it's not a significant burden. You're probably looking at maybe $1,000 for the parking stall, the parking space in the driveway.
And just from a justice court standpoint, we're hoping that this kind of alleviates the parking on lawn. We're seeing a lot of
Right.
those, and that's, we're hoping that this will prevent that from happening further.
Good.
Yeah, that was a big,
Yeah,
big
it's
piece
a
of
huge
this.
problem in the justice court.
Any concerns, any issues?
No? Good.
All right, so what I'll
And
do-
it's just important to remember, it's new building, new
Build,
construction.
or if you
or
come
if
in
you're
for
putting in
renovations
additions
or
for
additions.
bedroom.
We're not gonna go out and
Anybody
issue-
else is A-okay, so. If you have any issues, call Greg Bergman. Greg Bergman.
All right, so I'll prepare a resolution to publish and
Yes,
post and schedule.
absolutely.
Thanks, Greg.
All right.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay, last up for open session before we go to resolutions, matters concerning possible code amendment to Chapter 301, Article L1, wireless communications towers and antennas. Charters, Prudenti, HURLEY.
Just be the 2 of us.
Oh,
I have another handout for everyone, just so we can see sort of where this is coming from.
has all this stuff been put online, Kevin? Okay.
The code amendments
Thank
are
you.
online. Obviously, this is federal legislation that regulates these. They're called satellite earth stations, which, if the board is not familiar, this is what, internet service providers have new technology for getting people the internet. So it's, instead of being telecommunications, it's satellite
Is that the one they want
earth
to
stations,
put
correct?
in? Yeah.
So it's Starlink.
Starlink.
Is the best example I can give everybody. Basically, it transmits from a satellite to the ground, then to whatever your Starlink is on your house. So we're looking to amend our wireless communication code because in federal law, unless we have a code that's on the books that deals with either aesthetics or public safety, these satellite earth stations are preempted from local zoning, so they could potentially come in and just be built. So we're looking to really protect the town in this regard. And if you have had the opportunity to review the code, this really just adds this to the wireless communication, so that cell towers, and really uses a lot of the same criteria. So we want to make sure it's screened from view, it's a safe, secure site, and there's minimal impacts on all the surrounding properties. It's a lot of the same criteria, but just building this into that code, obviously, and also adding a definition to 301-3, which defines what these uses are. The only exemption we've built into this draft is for residential satellite earth stations, which is it could be a satellite dish less than 2 meters, because that's the federal regulation. So if you have your direct TV dish on your house, obviously you're not going to have to get a special permit or site plan approval from the town board. That's pretty much it. The regulations are, like I said, are the same for cell towers. There's a couple different tweaks, but that's on page 6 of the draft. If you want me to go through those a little bit.
It's really straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah, so in 274, the use districts where this would be allowed, it's just going to be allowed in industrial zones. So A, C, in the PIP or in PD. And then on page 6 of the draft is everything we need for a special permit. So it's the same criteria that we'd ask for on a cell tower.
How does this affect the business that's currently up at EPCAL?
So there is enforcement action that's been taken. Obviously, they did not come in for permits, so that I imagine would go through
No
justice
road
court.
opening permit, no easement, running line in our highway right of way. Didn't come in, application for building permit, site plan, nothing.
So we have had communications
That's
with.
general, when in here, is there something in here that's preventing, making them put up fencing or closure like?
They have to comply with our code, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had conversations with this applicant going back, I want to say 9 months, to just kind of give everyone a brief window into what's going on at EPCAL. We did direct them to apply for a special permit under the wireless communications facility, and a cell tower company did do that, and they also applied for the site plan. After the fact, we've gotten correspondence that's saying, well, no, we don't actually have to comply with anything. Anne-Marie and I did some further research and found that we can build this into our code similar to a cell tower, so that's why you have the legislation before you.
Are they pre-existing non-conforming then?
No, because they have no approvals for
They
anything.
didn't commit for anything.
Yeah, so they'd have to comply.
They submitted, but they didn't move the project forward.
Good. Yeah, open the road, like Ed
Yeah,
said. They
we
open
don't
the
let
road.
anybody just open our roads. We don't let anybody run cables in our right of way. We have other infrastructure improvements that are critical to the operation of the town and our government. And that's why you always have to come in, whether it be for road opening and/or easement.
So if the board's comfortable, I think it's imperative that we get this to a public
So
hearing.
we'd like to move it forward
Quickly.
immediately.
Yeah, get it.
Okay.
We'll publish and post next week for a future public
I
hearing.
like that you
Yeah.
changed the pricing yet, too.
Oh, and yes, the application fee is going up. We're a little out of date for
Probably
500.
20 years old.
Thank you for picking up on that.
Yeah, so it was 500. Obviously, these are big projects that cost a lot of money, and it's a lot of our time to review them because they're very dense in terms of what we review.
You think what we're charging now is enough?
1,500, the change, I think is enough.
Okay.
Great.
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Okay, next up are resolutions. And we're going to have to go through these a little bit quickly because we have an attorney in executive session on a call for us at 1:30, so
Yep. So if the board's ready, we'll jump right into it.
you can go ahead.
Okay, resolution number 1, extends bid for corrosion control chemical, and I just want to note for the board, the attachment there is unsigned. We just attached the wrong version, so we have the signed copy. We'll attach that.
Okay.
Resolution number 2, authorization of publish and post public hearing to amend Town Code, Chapter 221, to establish Community Preservation Fund Water Quality Improvement and Pollution Prevention Committee. Number 3, classify special permit application of Riverhead Charter School temporary trailers as Type 2 action pursuant to seeker and schedules public hearing 5117 Sound Avenue, Riverhead, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-20-4-3. And just to clarify, there's no action being taken. All we're doing is going for public hearing at this stage. Just for the public. Number 4, Water District Capital Project Number 82411, East End Food Institute budget adoption. Number 5, Water District Capital Project Number 82410, Venezia Square budget adoption. Number 6, Water District Capital Project Number 82409, 901-903, Scott Avenue budget adoption. Number 7, Downtown Revitalization Project Grant Funding for Adaptive Playground. Number 8, POP New York 2024-25 Road Resurfacing Grant Budget. Number 9, EWR 2024-25 Road Resurfacing Grant Budget. Number 10, CHIPS 2024-2025 Road Resurfacing Grant Budget. Those are annual grants we do every year.
From
And
the
number-
state that help with our road surfacing.
Right. And number 11 as well, which is Pave New York 2024-25 Road Resurfacing Grant Budget.
Sounds like a lot of money, but it doesn't go very far when you start rolling it out on a roadway.
That's right. Number 12, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from Suffolk County Office for the Aging to supplement the town's expanded in-home services for the elderly program. Number 13, Calverton Parks Community Development Agency budget transfer. Number 14, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from the Suffolk County Office for the Aging to supplement the town's shopping assistance program for the elderly 2024. Number 15, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement with VHB Engineering, Surveying, Landscape Architecture, and Geology, PC. Number 16, authorizes supervisor to execute a license agreement with DMS Apex Holdings, LLC to utilize runway at EPCAL. Number 17, authorizes supervisor to execute contract with New York State EFC Green Innovation Grant Program for Meeting House Creek Restoration Project. Number 18, Meeting House Creek Wetland Restoration, SECRA Lead Agency and Negative Declaration, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-67-2-27.1. Number 19, authorizes the submission of a youth mentoring grant. Number 20, reappoints members to the Town of Riverhead Beach Advisory Committee. Number 21, reappoints members to Small Business Advisory Committee. Number 22, appoints a fire prevention inspector. Number 23, appoints an automotive equipment operator. Number 24, appoints automotive equipment operators, plural. Number 25, appoints seasonal traffic control specialists. Number 26, authorizes sewer district employees to attend seminar. Number 27, approve special event Chapter 255 application for the Railroad Museum Riverhead Railroad Festival 2024. Number 28, approve special event Chapter 255 application for the Scorpion Run. Number 29, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Chicken Kids, October 8th through October 13th. Number 30, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Landscape Contractors Association of Long Island, LCALI, Summer Barbecue. Number 31, authorizes supervisor to execute an agreement with Sousa Soccer Training LLC for training and referee services for Town of Riverhead Police Athletic League Girls and Boys Soccer Program for the Fall 2024 soccer season. Number 32, establishes standard workday for an elected official. Number 33, ratifies an extension of a leave of absence nunc-pro-tunc. Number 34, ratifies special event application 255, special event Chapter 255 application for PC Richards Memorial Day tent sale and barbecue. And number 35, authorizes the supervisor to execute a professional services agreement with LIRO GIS Inc. And I think Dawn Thomas has just two additional resolutions that the board is aware of, but I don't know if you have actual copies of, and Dawn has those. She can start talking about it.
Hello. So you have two resolutions relating to Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grant for well head treatment at well 5-2A. One resolution authorizes the grant application, authorizes the supervisor to execute any agreements necessary in connection with the grant, and authorizes whatever other funding or financing may be necessary should the grant not cover the total cost of the project. The maximum amount of the grant is $5 million. The maximum amount we could receive is 70% of the project cost, which is $2.26 million. And it's for treatment for PFAS, so it's an emerging contaminant. Normally, these grants are less of a bigger match for us, but with the emerging contaminant, they allow up to 70%. And the second resolution is the SECRA resolution for that project, which is just a type 2 action. It's a issue relating to SECRA. So those two resolutions will go in. The grant would be filed by June 14th, and then we cross our fingers and wait.
Okay.
So in the next board meeting, the June 18th board meeting, we'll have a resolution for bond authorization for our portion of it, but it'll be the whole cost of the project, just to cover it, in case we only get a portion or don't get the whole grant. So that'll be coming up. It'll still give us plenty of time for the estoppel period, because the grant, it's just a grant application at this point.
Okay. Good. Thanks, Bill. Okay, that's it on open session. I'd like to make a motion to close open session.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there food in executive session?
Nay. And we are going into discuss matters surrounding possible sale of real property, Thomas Prudenti and Hurley. Matters surrounding possible lease agreement between Town of Riverhead and potential not-for-profit for Vail Leavitt with Hurley and Thomas. Matters surrounding contract agreement with employee, Prudenti. Personnel matters, matters surrounding possible change in status of employee, MERRIFIELD, HEGERMILLER, and Prudenti. Matters surrounding possible disciplinary actions, STRIPLIN-TIO and COYNE. Matters surrounding personnel investigation reports, STRIPLIN-TIO, COYNE, Hurley, and ZUCKERMAN. Legal matters surrounding possible update of possible litigation, Prudenti and Thomas. And
So you
that's
just
it.
need like 5 minutes then.
So we just need the other half of your guy.
Motion?
Okay, yeah, Zuckerman's got to be off.